Right, come on, you four-eyed fat-faced fool. Tell us what's going to be in the new podcast from the two mics.
Well, plenty of buffoonery from you and lots of sense from me. What else?
The plane was a bit low, and the pilot pointed out, if you look down, and there was an army of turtles swimming. No.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two mics on Talk Sport. Gareth Southgate's got a brand new plan. It involves dressing the England players up in camouflage fatigues and running about playing soldiers. They might only be playing Scotland at the weekend, but wouldn't they be better off practising scoring goals or something instead? He's also just hired the world's #1 striker-specific coach, Alan Russell. No, we've never heard of him either.
Jack Russell.
Not Jack, no, his name's Alan Russell, and he's the world's #1 striker-specific coach, I keep telling you. But just what is going on in the world of Pep Southgate? 08717 22 3344. Also coming up on the show, we're talking to Grammy Award-winning producer Steve Lillywhite about the current Gallagher brothers feud. This time, Porky's not involved. Plus, it's Porky Vision time as well, the best TV review this side of Tasmania, or New Zealand, where the Lions are having a pretty rough time at the moment. You won't want to miss it. You're listening to the two mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And, the week moves on.
It
General
does.
election tomorrow. So,
Final day of the campaign.
Yes, that's right.
That'll please an awful lot of people, actually, because it's been a bit of a boring old fest, hasn't it?
Well, politics is inherently boring in my view, anyway. But anyway, just to remind everybody who shall be here tomorrow night and seeing it through the night.
Hang on, we've got a show to do today.
To Friday morning. We're doing today's
We've got a show to do tomorrow morning as well.
Yeah, we have as well.
So don't get ahead of yourself.
No, I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm just letting the listeners know what is to come.
You've been telling him so many different stories over the course of the last week that they're all terribly confused and nobody knows when we're on.
You mean about when we're on, when we're off, and all that kind of... Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's all happened now,
Let's just talk about what we know, right? Which is that England take on Scotland at the weekend.
Yep.
Right? It is the old enemies, and the police are already saying the game shouldn't be played because it's being pitched at 5 o'clock.
That's right.
And they say everybody's going to be drunk.
Yep.
There's talk of, sort of stag party style trips coming from here up to Scotland, people having a great time.
Yes.
There's also talk, of course, of England now having trained as Marines over the course of the last few days with Gareth Southgate, properly honed and, much more strong physical specimens. What is going on with Pep Southgate?
Well, I don't know what's going on. And the additional piece of information we've been given this morning is that man that you've just mentioned, Alan Russell.
Alan Russell.
Now, Alan Russell says here has been given the job of improving England's Harry Kane, Jermaine Defoe, Marcus Rashford and Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to have been, a world-class striker to become a world-class coach.
Yeah.
Often some of the best coaches have not been particularly eminent footballers.
Right.
But this chap's website describes himself as the world's leading attack coach, doesn't it?
The world's #1.
Number one, yeah, the world's number one.
Coach.
Now, it says he's advised Premier League champions Chelsea this season, alongside Southgate's number 2, Steve Holland.
And I would imagine it's Steve Holland that's brought him into the England fold.
I would think so, yeah. But it says he's now been given an England call-up. He worked collectively with England players yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, this is all rather strange because his track record is extraordinary. He seems to have played for second division Scottish teams, non-league English teams.
Well, I'll tell you who he's played for. He's played for Hibernian,
Yes.
He's played for Hamilton Academicals, he's played for St Mirren, he's played for Macclesfield Town, Mansfield Town, Forest Green Rovers, Partick Thistle, Airdrie, Kilmarnock, and then latterly in America, the Carolina Railhawks.
That's right.
And the Orange County Blues.
He went to the USA.
So he's never actually played a top-level football.
Yeah, but again, sometimes you can be a great coach without having been a great player.
Sure.
That is possible. But this is not coaching a football team. This is being a specific attack-minded coach.
Yes.
So you'd think you'd need to know something about putting the ball in the back of the net.
Well, you would think he does know something about that because he has scored goals. But what worries me,
Scored one, didn't he, in the Scottish second division?
Well, no, he was the top scorer for Hamilton Accies when he played for them.
Oh.
He scored 34 goals in 65 appearances for
that's
Hamilton
not bad.
Accies, which is not bad.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good ratio. But the thing that worries me is what he says about what he does for these players, right? He says, I assess them as soon as they come in. I know what's wrong with their body mechanics, if their balance is right, if their technique is good enough, the discipline in their follow-through, how they are setting their finishes. I can give them immediate feedback. I mean, how does he know about all this stuff? Is he just studying the science of how to move your body?
He goes on to say, is their standing foot far enough forward when they strike the ball? Are they stretching? Are they connecting with the right part of the ball? How are they rotating their hips?
Yeah.
And he has
Sounds
what
like
he
a
calls
dance coach.
what he calls Alan Russell's Superior Striker Programme. Sounds like a video game.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And he says that it's already been used by Saido Berahino.
Who?
Saido Berahino. Saido Berahino.
Berahino, yeah.
Berahino.
Okay.
Andre Gray,
Yeah.
Ashley Fletcher,
Yeah.
and Alexander Mitrovic.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, indeed.
So, and it says, and this is probably a bit closer to...
Well, he's not claiming to have had any great successes with Diego Costa or with Eden Hazard or
No, he's
anybody
not,
at Chelsea.
no.
So we don't know quite what he did at Chelsea.
Perhaps a bit closer to the truth is, well, I'm not saying that he's being untruthful, but closer to what's going on.
Yeah.
It is thought his role with the FA extends to all age groups and the women's team. So maybe he's, going through the...
Well, Pep's very keen on the whole,
certainly is.
the holistic approach to football, isn't he? I mean, what was that business all about? Having them all dressed up
I have no
in
idea.
camouflage outfits, running around like Tough Mudder course.
I have no idea. He said I was taking them out of their comfort zone. Well, footballers are comfortable on a football pitch because they play football.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, and I hate to go back to the last tournament they were in, but in that game against Iceland, there were moments in the game when you were watching it and you were thinking, why don't they have a clue what to do here?
Yes, that's right.
Why can they not break down this Iceland defence?
Yes.
Why can they not put themselves in more goal-scoring positions? Surely that's what they should be practising, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? My heart sunk when I read into this, and I thought, I wonder where he got this idea from. He got it from Eddie Jones,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Now, Pep has started doing this business, hasn't he, and watching other sports.
Yeah,
and
he went out to Oregon, I think it was,
went
wasn't
out
it?
to Oregon.
To watch the Portland basketball team.
Yeah, that's right. And then going and seeing Eddie Jones about rugby and all that. That's all very well, but the problem is that the physical training of a rugby player is, I think, I'm no expert, immensely different to the physical training of a footballer.
It is.
Now, rugby players, I'm sure, will benefit from, running around with logs on their shoulders, jumping into freezing rivers, being dragged underwater, a picture which will
Well, as
haunt.
I said to Danny Kelly, not only will it haunt Gareth Southgate, but it will be used again, won't it?
It will be used again and again.
You can see, and you can understand where it will be used
And
as well.
again, and all this idea about toughening the lads up, and making them adaptable, it is, as you quite rightly say, a load of old baloney.
Codswallop, yeah.
They need to practice penalties.
Well, they not only practice penalties, but practice how to break down a defence.
Yeah.
Practice how, when you're in a situation on the pitch where you seem to be clueless, that you somehow have a clue.
That's right.
I mean, I couldn't believe watching them in that tournament with Roy Hodgson standing on the touchline, staring at his watch, wondering what they were going to do next. And they didn't have a clue.
While Harry Kane was taking penalties, taking corners. And interestingly, the game on Saturday is the first time Harry Kane's played for Gareth Southgate competitively. And I'm sure he won't be taking the corners. That's one thing they could have worked on, finding new corner takers.
Well, the great difficulty, I suppose, as well, is how do you prepare for a game like the game they're going to have on Saturday against Scotland, because it's not going to be a very difficult game for them.
No, it's not, no.
But at the same time,
Sadly.
they have to score a lot of goals and they have to look reasonably imposing, don't they?
Yeah, England scored at least 3 goals, I think, in the last 3 fixtures against Scotland, and it's a shame it's not going to be a harder-edged fixture. But then again, we're into the team of the qualifiers, 34 games since they were last beaten in a qualifier, and then go to a tournament and then flop. Right. That is the track record, I'm afraid, of the last 2 or 3 tournaments.
Now, I've got a text here from Donny, who says, God help England if Russell is coaching strikers. He coached Martin's Waghorn at Rangers, and he could not score if you put something in front of him that I can't read out here on the family show, but basically saying that he wasn't much of a goal-scoring, striking coach back up there in Rangers. By the way, we've seen that Rangers story today, the Daily Record. They know about the front 9 pages on the fact that the whole Craig White trial, the fraud trial, has completely collapsed.
Yes.
He's walked away. Nobody's being blamed for Rangers going down the gurgler.
No.
Nobody's being blamed for any sort of fraud that went on at the club. Nobody's being blamed for destroying the place.
Where did all the money go?
Well, nobody knows.
No.
It's extraordinary. We might talk about that a little bit later on. But going back to this business of going to these courses and dressing up like a soldier and pretending to be a Marine. I mean, it's a bit like those management consultant type courses you go on, isn't it? When they have you doing sort of bonding exercises, and you must have gone on some of those.
The guy who I went to one of those, in a country hotel down in Sussex, and the guy talked about widgets all the time.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of a widget.
No.
But a widget apparently is a device in the bottom of a can
that
puts the froth into beer when you open it.
Yes.
And so he tried to bring it down to very basic. Now, you produce newspapers, but remember, this man produces widgets.
Yes.
What do you have in common with the man producing the widget?
Nothing.
It was ludicrous.
Yeah.
And then you did all these stupid building blocks things. You know, you'd walk into a room, be a load of children's coloured blocks on the desk, and you'd be given 3 minutes to build a bridge or something like that.
But you had to use one of your colleagues to help you do something.
Yeah, that's right, teamwork.
And that was supposed to bond you together for the rest of time.
Teamwork.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Over a drink after we'd finished on this 3-day course, the first day, you know, this guy had a drop of wine or something, and then revealed he was being paid £1,200 a day to tell us the searingly obvious conclusions of some very basic principles in life. Work hard.
Yeah. Get on with everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And don't clamber over them to try and get more and better money. Yeah. This is, of course, Talk Sport. We want to hear from you on this because not only do we want to hear from you on the subject of Gareth Southgate and what on earth he's doing, hiring a number one striking coach when he doesn't really need it, and what on earth is he doing putting all the players in and out of Marines outfits.
Unbelievable.
And also, just as an aside, we might want to take some of your calls on, these crazy courses that you might have been on as well.
Yes.
08717 223344. Right now, though, it's time to talk to Dave Kidd, who's the Sun's chief sports writer, because he's got a view on Gareth Southgate, or Pep Southgate, as we like to call him, and his a plan to make men of the England team before the Scotland game. But what, I wonder, does he make of this guy, Alan Russell? Dave, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Hello, chaps, you all right?
Yeah, very well indeed, Dave.
Very well indeed. You've written a big column today, Dave, in the paper, talking about how you think this might be something that is going to be a positive for the England players. Tell us why you think that.
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, at the end of a long season, a couple of weeks after most of them have played, and in a game where even, Scotland and England has got such great historical significance and a great sort of historic rivalry, I think there's a real danger of sort of complacency and fatigue, and just a bunch of guys turning up for England duties, sort of assuming that they're going to win this match, maybe comfortably. And I just think it was something that certainly surprised the players. Actually, would have surprised their clubs as well. Just sort of gave them a bit of a wake up call, and I think Gareth's kind of pretty keen to take players out of their comfort zones when they go on England duty, and. I can see why people might have some concerns about it, but I can see the psychology working actually in this situation.
The thing is, Dave, if this was offered to the Real Madrid squad, I can tell you now, Cristiano Ronaldo would not do it. And if you've got to, set your standards to the very highest.
Well, not unless they made him a special sort of Giorgio Armani, sort of camouflage suit.
But he wouldn't, because he would say, "I'm not a soldier, I'm not a clown, I'm a footballer." And don't you think that the limited amount of time that Gareth Southgate has with the national squad, because we're always asking each other, what does an England manager do when he hasn't got the players, for games and friendlies and things? Wouldn't you think the limited amount of time should be spent on honing, his football ideas, on honing the pattern they're going to play, on honing free kicks and particularly penalties?
I think they've got a fair amount of time together actually before the Scotland game, so they're going to be spending 3 or 4 days at St George's Park working all that kind of thing. I don't think it's a bad idea just to stop players getting bored. I probably agree with what you said about Ronaldo. If we had a Ronaldo, okay, then maybe we can just relax. Yeah, but we haven't.
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, a lot of the tweets and things that we're getting in are critical of Gareth Southgate, but others are saying, yeah, but these guys already know how to play football. Maybe the bonding
not
thing
with each other
is a
necessarily,
good idea. But they don't. I mean, we've all seen what happens when they get to a tournament, Dave. Like when they were playing against Iceland, I was saying to Mike, we don't like to remember it, but there were moments when you were watching them play there where you thought, why haven't they got a clue what to do here? Why have they not got an ability to break down this defence?
Said in the column, I think it's Southgate's view, as you have quite a lot of us, that the problems of the England team aren't necessarily sort of technical footballing problems. They're problems of sort of decision making and just players, being a little bit more adult, a bit more intelligent in the way they deal with pressure situations. And I think these kind of things are designed to solve those kind of problems. But whether they work or not, I don't know. But I think he's being imaginative and he's trying something different. I personally think I'm personally willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on it, certainly.
OK, now you keep an eye on things internationally when it's happening, Dave. What do you make of this rather extraordinary appointment of this chap, Mr. Russell, Alan Russell? You'd never heard of him before he turned up in the England camp?
I hadn't actually, no, and I wasn't actually there myself yesterday, but I'm reading about it with interest. Yeah, I think I'm not sure how permanent an appointment it is, but it's certainly somebody that Gareth Southgate apparently knows fairly well, got to know. I'm not quite sure if the nationality is too important, really, John.
I don't think the fact that he's Scottish is I don't think the fact that he's Scottish is necessarily an issue, but he seems to have embedded himself quite well with the organisation, because he's teaching kids and he's also involved with the women's team as well. So I think he is in there with the furniture now. I've got a tweet here from a guy called Charlie who says Alan Russell's last claim to fame was to have a spot on Soccer AM where he showed his skills dribbling around dummies. That's where you can find some footage of it.
But I mean, quite seriously, Dave, shouldn't people like Alan Shearer be used as coaches for England? If you want to show a man how to score goals and the principle behind it, shouldn't you get somebody like Shearer who is available?
I don't necessarily agree with that. Just because you're a great footballer, you are therefore a great coach, or vice versa. I don't think it always works like that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't always work, but Alan Shearer's got a much better idea of how to put a ball in the back of the net than this chap, Alan Russell, who I'm sure is a fine technical coach.
And also, people will make, and some people are making distinctions already between people like Jose Mourinho and Jock Stein, neither of which were particularly good footballers. However, striking and scoring goals is a specific skill. Some would say it's a specific art, isn't it, Dave? I mean, it's not the same as just being a coach.
Yeah, but I don't think coaching it necessarily, I don't think being able to do it instinctively yourself makes you necessarily a better coach of that skill, in my opinion. No.
I don't know. If I was, for example, if you had, I don't know if you ever had the misfortune, as we have, and we were in journalism, in newspapers, having people coming in and telling us how to do our jobs who didn't know how to do them themselves. I mean, if somebody came into your office and said, right, I'm going to teach you how to write, but they couldn't actually write themselves, I don't think you'd take any notice of them, would you?
No, that's what you call Twitter, I think, isn't it? No, I don't
No, it certainly is. And, Dave, the match coming up on Saturday, now, there's already been a police request to postpone the game. I mean, for goodness sake, and the game isn't even near yet, you know what I mean? I do think it's a good point that the FA have made this morning, that these guys, go out to overseas games, to away games, England away games, in big groups of stag party-like organisation. It is a problem, isn't it? We've all seen it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I was in Dortmund that night, and it was just embarrassing to be English and be in that stadium, actually, because it was so sustained. And it was quite a large minority of the England support that night. It wasn't just a few idiots. It was a large number of idiots. Made me quite embarrassed to be English. I think that was the view of most people in the press box. So, I support what they've done.
Yeah. We didn't do ourselves any favours there by, Gareth Southgate, inadvertently, I have to say, going and clapping the fans and all that, because amongst them were guys who were being rowdy.
Well, how do you stop it, though? What can you actually do, Dave, about it?
Well, they've issued quite a lot of banning already for people who misbehaved in Dortmund, and I think that's the right way to go about it. I think they have generally, over the years, improved things a lot with the England travel club they've got. Compared to how things were 20 years ago, things in recent years have been markedly better. It's not to say amazingly good, but I thought Dortmund was a low. It really was. It was poor that night, and
it was.
I think the FA needed to act. I agree with you that probably Southgate and people that particular evening didn't react maybe quickly enough. But then again, these guys are absorbed with the game of football in front of them. They're probably not monitoring what was going on in the stands as we may have been. So I can give them cut them a bit of slack on that one. I think that they, that they are now acting in the right way to try and counter this problem.
Yeah, well, let's hope there's nothing like that going on up in Scotland. Dave, thank you very much indeed. That's Dave Kidd, the Sun's chief sports writer. A couple of people with views on Alan Shearer. One from Daniel, who says, everyone starts unknown. If Alan Shearer was a great coach, he would be coaching in the Premier League. And Seaback says, why isn't Alan Shearer England's striker coach rather than this nobody trying to be a somebody?
Well, Alan Shearer
a little bit harsh.
Did try a bit of coaching. It was only half a dozen games, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And Newcastle still went down.
Newcastle still went down.
And that was when, famously, I think it was at Liverpool, where they had the great chant, you should have stayed on the telly.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was tremendous.
Yeah. Well,
now, we want to hear from you, though. 08717 223344. Is Gareth Southgate barking up the wrong tree with all this kind of bonding and teamwork and all that sort of stuff? Should he not be practising football instead? Give us a call. 08717 223344. This is TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are at the Two Mics. Got lots and lots of debate going on Twitter. You can find us, of course, at the Two Mics. You can find us on Facebook on the Two Mics page as well.
Yep.
Mark has sent a very nice picture in of Cristiano Ronaldo in training with the Portuguese Air Force.
Oh, right. Okay.
Wearing battle fatigues.
Yes, I
he
see.
says, so once again, Porky is wrong.
No, I'm not. No, that was a morale booster for the Air Force. That wasn't designed to make the Portuguese football team feel good, because it's generally accepted that the Portuguese football team is a much more efficient unit and organisation.
You're just making this up as you go along, aren't you? Yes, you are.
Than the Portuguese Air Force.
I can't tell when you're just making it up.
I don't think the Portuguese Air Force has ever actually fought anybody. If you see what I mean.
So you're not going to slag off the Portuguese Air Force?
No, I'm not slagging off the Portuguese Air Force. They're a fine body of men.
They are.
But they've managed to contain the politics of Portugal
so
well.
they've got their own version of the Red Arrows?
Well, probably, but they've managed to contain the politics so well within Portugal, a fine country, you know, with fine people, not to have to stumble into conflict with other nations.
How about this from Jim, who says, come on, Porky, just because Shearer was a fine player does not mean he's any good as a coach. Exhibit 1, Tony Adams. It's got to be said.
That is, but Tony Adams has tried to be a manager. Tony Adams was still employable at clubs as a defensive coach because he knew how to, where to stand in the penalty area when a corner was coming over and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And Alan Shearer would have the same ability.
All right, well, listen.
Ian Rush
just stop talking for a minute.
Ian Rush at Liverpool, for example.
Just stop talking for a minute. We've got a load of people who want to get on the show here.
Let's get on
08717 22 33 44. Let's start with Leslie, who's a QPR fan. Leslie, very good morning to you.
Good morning, fellas. First, I've got to say, you two really make me laugh.
Oh, well, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm a serious broadcaster and journalist, Leslie.
Well, no, Abbott and Costello. Sorry, it's Abbott and Costello. It's got to be.
Yeah, he's the short, fat one, by the way.
There isn't a short, fat one. There's a short one and a fat one.
Would you let Leslie speak? What do you think
Leslie.
What do you think of Pep Southgate?
Well, I've got to be honest. I don't think England could have been much worse than they've been lately. So I think, first off, we should give the bloke a chance. At the end of the day, he's doing something different. Give him a chance before we pillory him.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, we can't really give him anything other than a chance because he's not got anybody to play until he gets to Russia. And then when he gets to Russia, he'll probably do what every England coach has done for the last sort of several tournaments and get knocked out.
Well, yes, I know that's always our downfall, and I'm not saying it won't happen again. But I went to a girls' grammar school in Woking, and they asked for volunteers to do an army assault course at Purbright, and I was one of the idiots that said, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. I've got to say, these blokes put you through your paces. I mean, they are merciless. Didn't matter that we were girls. They were merciless. And I tell you what, he's probably looking for leaders because that's where leaders surface. You're given all sorts of initiatives. Mm-hmm. And
so how did that work for you, Leslie? Did you become a leader after that?
Yeah, well, I've always been a bit that way inclined, but
really?
Where I was concerned, I took the initiative test, but I left myself in the middle of a thing of stagnant water. I got all my team across, and I left myself stranded, so I was completely useless. But that's maybe what he's using it for, is to see who's got guts, see who's going to really stand up to the plate and say, OK, I'm going to lead you, blokes.
Yeah. Yeah, but despite all that leadership teaching, you're still a QPR fan, Leslie. So, kind of failed on one level, didn't it, a bit?
Oh.
But
look, it's a family trait. I can't help it. I can't help it.
I accept that.
Don't hold it against me.
I accept that.
Well, the thing is, Porky's stuck with Everton. I mean, don't worry about it that much. Thank you very much indeed, Leslie, for kicking us off. Let's talk to Martin, who's a Spurs fan. Hi, Martin.
Hiya.
Yeah, hi, Martin.
What do you think, Martin?
Well, I think it's a good idea, personally. I mean, I was listening, I think it was Monday, and I forget who was talking, but they were saying how Gareth Southgate has such little time with the team to put his ideas across, which I agreed with. But for me, we've got 16, 18 top professionals going out there. They're footballers. That's their job. They know what they're doing. It's a case of getting the cohesion. And for me, that always starts with team spirit.
Team spirit can't really be manufactured, though, can it? I mean, is running through a bunch of mud dressed as a Marine going to make you any better of a team player?
It does, because like in Tough Mudders and with the military themselves, it's about team building. It's about building trust in each other. It's similar to standing, falling, and have someone catch you.
Yeah, but Martin, I'm sorry. I think there's a contradiction in what you've said. You opened up this very useful conversation by saying the England manager doesn't get much time with his players. Well, in that case, and by the way, they're coming from clubs where they've been individually coached by their own, team managers, team coaches to play in a certain way. Now, his job in the short amount of time he's got those players is to make them play to a vision that he has. So he's going to have to disabuse their minds of what they've learnt at their clubs and instill them with his plan. Surely that is done on a football pitch, not on a training camp down in Lympton in Devon.
No, I disagree with that. I think it's a case of utilising what they've got from their club teams and taking that onto the international level.
Yeah, but how many times, Martin, are we told that England, and not just England players, I mean, this happened at Manchester United when Louis van Gaal was there, that players don't know precisely what their job is. They're not sure what they're meant to be doing, in what role they're meant to be playing, and in which part of the pitch they're meant to be. And so if they don't know that, then surely that's what they need to be taught by the coach.
Well, they should know what their role is from the position they take up on the team sheet.
Yeah, but they don't, do they? That's my point. So that's what they need to practice.
What? I don't.
No, Martin. Mike's absolutely right. If a fullback joins the England team and he's an overlapping fullback at his club, and Gareth Southgate says, "I don't want any of that," then he's got to play in a back four that accommodates him and a midfield that accommodates him. You can't do that by carrying logs around on your shoulder at the Marine training camp.
But in that case, then, if he's playing, if they were both fit, for instance, Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, he knows what they do well. So if he was to ask them not to do that, he shouldn't be starting then. He should be starting somebody who's more familiar with that role.
But Martin, you would accept, surely, that there is room there for a conversation and some practice, because if you're playing a different role for the country than you play for your club, it is not as familiar, therefore you need to practice it more until you get it right. And that's what they're not doing.
I think you've got a bit of...
You can only take it so far.
I think your thinking's a bit muddled.
I think you can only take it so far, but they haven't taken it to the point where they could take it yet, I'm afraid. But thank you for your call, Martin. Let's talk to Rob, who's an Arsenal fan. Rob, very good morning to you.
Hi, Rob.
Oh, Rob's not there.
Rob's not there.
Never mind. So, I mean, we've got lots of tweets here. One here from Nick, who says, it's another Eileen Drury moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I think it might well be. I think he's talking about this guy, Alan Russell.
Yeah, I got treated by Eileen Drury.
You got treated?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I had the...
you had a head rub?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Did you?
Well, it was not a head rub. She placed her hands on my head, and I thought she actually did me quite good.
Well, Ray Parler's got the best line on that, hasn't he? Where he asked for a short back and sides.
It cost him 15 England caps, he reckons, because Glenn Hoddle took great offence to him not taking it seriously.
So what, she laid hands on your head? And what happened? Did you feel a sense of well-being rushing through your body?
Yeah, I kind of did. What she does is,
Has she been drinking?
No, she hadn't been drinking.
No, has you been drinking?
No, I hadn't been drinking.
That's unusual.
Not before. She brings you a sense of calm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. She's not trying to infuse energy into your head. She's trying to bring you to a state of mind, which gives you self-belief and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was quite useful. But this is not about me. This is about Alan Russell, obviously. And it says here, the two Mike's unfair comments on Alan Russell. He has worked with high-calibre players and helped them progress.
Well, he's worked with Saido Berahino, who should be a high-calibre player, but isn't.
And he says Tartan Army.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing is, Mr. Russell is a Scot, but he ain't working for the Tartan Army.
No, he hasn't.
Chips, who sent in this one.
Nick has a view on that as well, on Mitrovic. He says, as a Newcastle season ticket holder, I can confirm Mitro couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo.
See,
I don't think there's anyone coming in saying Alan Russell's been doing a great job for anyone, so we're not being unfair to him at all.
No.
Not only have we not heard of him, but he hasn't done a very good job anywhere.
I think also
you could time.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think you can also sort of really make your mind up about people sometimes when you look at what they think of themselves.
Yes.
And if you go to Mr. Alan Russell's website, the one thing he does not lack is self-promotion and self-belief.
He's the world's number one attack-minded striker coach.
That's how he builds himself on his website. So
doesn't tell us how he got that.
No, he doesn't. Who awarded him that title? We still don't know.
No, we'll find out though. I'm sure
we will
in the coming days and months.
Yeah.
Coming up next, though, Steve Lillywhite's going to join us. He'll tell us about the latest feud between the Gallagher brothers and whether he wants Romelu Lukaku at Chelsea.
Where the streets have no name.
This is the Two Mikes on TalkSport with Wicks. Right now there's 3 for 2 across gardens and landscaping, including all decking and wood care.
Hold me inside. I wanna reach out and touch the flame where the streets have no
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics,
Yep.
and I'm delighted to say that music, which is, of course, from the Joshua Retreat, the
Yes.
30th anniversary of which is now going
Blimey,
on.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tour has already started over in America.
How many years ago was the video on the roof of the...
30.
Was that 30 years ago, was it? Yeah. Right, yeah.
And this, of course, is our opportunity to speak to the producer of the album, Mr. Steve Lillywhite, who is, of course, a massive Chelsea fan.
Yep.
And we're going to kick off, though, with the Gallagher brothers and what on earth is going on with them. Steve, a very good morning to you.
Yeah. Good morning, boys. Good morning.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, one of the producers on the album, I have to say,
Yes.
it was a big team effort, but what a great album. And yes, I'm very lucky. I've produced Liam Gallagher, so I know him pretty well.
Ah.
And I've also hung out with Noel quite a few times, and
Yeah.
they're very different people.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, what Liam did was, to be honest, was irresponsible. It was really, tweeting about your brother not going there. And, we don't know what Noel did behind the scenes, how he reacted to it. Maybe he didn't want to do it. It just so happens, of course, that Liam has a new record out.
Yeah.
So, Liam wants to be in the public eye at the moment.
Right.
Noel doesn't.
Well, he also performed he
he
performed his new record at that concert, which some might say was a little bit kind of
Taking advantage.
self-promotional,
Yeah.
really, because it wasn't all about him. It was all about Ariana Grande and all about the victims of the bomb.
Exactly, and this is where charity becomes a little bit of a grey area for me. But anyway, but the fact is, Liam is a lovely family guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to Christmas, for instance, Liam is the one who has mum and the less fortunate other family members to his house.
Right.
No, they don't all get together for Christmas. So.
Right.
It's just Noel is a lone wolf.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Liam is the youngest, and he's the sort of, the cheeky one.
Sure.
And but really, all Liam needs is one Oasis comeback tour, because he has many children by many different people, and it's an expensive life.
Well, the thing is, Steve, do you know what? Do you know what my immediate reaction was when Noel didn't appear? I mean, I thought that was a really good decision, because, do you know what? That would have taken the focus entirely off the purpose of the concert, to raise money for the victims of the terrible atrocity, and it would have focused the world on the reunion of Oasis, and the whole, the whole mechanic of the concert would have been changed.
No, that absolutely, you're right, because nothing should be bigger than, Oasis coming back together would have been very, very big news.
Indeed.
And that would, those people at that concert deserved to be the stars.
Exactly.
The crowd were the stars at that concert. And I thought, Chris Martin was very good. He's always good at these.
Yeah.
Luckily you two had a gig themselves that night, so they couldn't be there.
Yeah, although
right,
they did give a little message out, though, didn't they?
Yes, of course. It struck right at the heart of what we all take as our culture.
Yes.
Right.
It was a really horrible thing to do.
I mean, is it going to be something, just to be serious on that for a moment, Steve? I mean, obviously you're involved in tours and stuff like that. I mean, is this now going to be something that sort of rock promoters and pop sort of impresarios are going to have to worry about whenever they play certain places?
Oh, I think anywhere there is a peace-loving crowd in the West joining together for something, be it a sporting event, we've had that in Germany, be it a concert, we had that in Manchester, what else is there? It's we have to just live in this world, and, it is what it is, and I don't know whether the bombing them, I'm not sure what we can do.
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
What they did in Manchester was fantastic.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. Now, what about the whole feud, though, between Liam and Noel? Because, I mean, I've known people that have worked with Oasis as well who've just said that Liam has always been a nightmare in any situation where, the two of them were together. He'd be walking out. It would be worse than Pete Townsend in the Who business, where, the show suddenly wouldn't go on because somebody disappeared. And, I mean, clearly, Liam, even though he keeps saying he doesn't want Oasis to reform, he obviously does, and Noel doesn't.
He does, and this is not the World Wrestling Federation. This is real.
Right.
This is, this is family. This is family, and to be honest, you know, Noel wrote the songs. He still is earning money from those songs now, whereas Liam is earning money only from the physical sales or the streaming of those songs.
Right.
So Liam's residuals are trickling.
Yeah.
Couple that with the fact that Liam really, as I say, he has big families, divorces, all those things can be expensive.
Indeed.
He has his very good clothing line, Pretty Green, but I'm sure, you know, one big tour with Oasis playing stadiums would give him the sort of cushion that he needs. And of course, Noel doesn't need that.
No.
I presume it will happen at some point, but you know, the other huge Manchester band that never did it was the Smiths, of course.
Yeah, of course, never got back. Now, let's turn to our other favourite subject, please, Steve, because you talked about stadiums there, and the question is, in which stadium will Romelu Lukaku be playing his home games in next season? Many people think it's going to be yours, it's going to be Stamford Bridge, and that's going to cost you £100 million from my club.
Yes, you did say earlier 125, so you have dropped the price.
Well,
Harry.
already.
You've dropped the price.
Yes, that's right. Well, that was wishful thinking, believe me.
Well, I haven't listened to any of the betting tips there, but I doubt if anyone's even giving odds on where he will land now. You know, I think it's, you know, I would love to see him, especially if we can keep Hazard. But even if we can't keep Hazard, we'd have Pedro and Willian and Fabregas and all the great playmakers who can surround him. You know, and to be honest, I think and he's a big Chelsea-style forward, like Mickey Droy, or
but the worry that people have about him, of course, is the fact that Lukaku doesn't really score what are called very important goals. And I know, is he actually going to be that player for Chelsea? Where, you know, a lot of the goals. I mean, there's a statistic out there that says if you took all Lukaku's goals away from Everton, they'd still be 7th.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I get that. But look, one thing, and he's, you know, Mr. Parry.
Yes.
Romelu Lukaku is a very ambitious guy.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
He's had Jose Mourinho. Yeah, he's had Mourinho as a coach. He didn't like him. He didn't understand what all the fuss is about.
Yeah.
You look at what Conte has done with Chelsea last season.
In 1 year,
and it was magical.
Yes.
And what he did makes Lukaku go, oh, my God.
Yeah, this is terrific.
I want to learn.
Yes.
I want, you know, and that's beautiful. I've heard such great things about how Conte really does manage that team and gets the best out of every single person. So I'm sure he's excited about going to Chelsea, whereas he wouldn't be that excited about going to Man United.
No, I totally agree.
It's all between their ears.
Yeah.
All between their ears.
It is.
Sure.
Indeed it is. Steve, listen, we're going to leave you there. Thank you very
Thanks
much
very
indeed.
much indeed,
Steve. There
Steve.
with his view on Lukaku and also on the Gallagher brothers as well.
Go.
Gabrielle says this about our friend Mr. Russell. Getting that guy to coach England strikers is like Gordon Ramsay teaching anger management. And David says, Porky being treated by Eileen Jury. Now it all becomes clear.
Yeah, maybe it does.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. Loads more coming up.
While others walk.
We are the two mics. This is Talk Sport. You haven't tuned into the James Bond channel by mistake.
No.
What on earth are we playing this for?
Well, for two reasons. Firstly, it is Tom Jones' 77th birthday today, right?
Well, happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday, Tom, indeed. Oh, that's fantastic. But secondly...
77.
77.
Wow.
And I tell you what, he's wearing incredibly well, isn't he?
He is, actually.
When you think that he's nearly 80, or in 3 years' time he will be.
Well, you can certainly put it that way.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And 80 used to be like pensioned off age.
Well, you'd be walking around like Phil Collins, basically. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it.
Poor old Phil, though. That's down to 60 years of drumming. But
well, he's in a bad way. But no, I mean, you'd be like a grandfather. You'd have white hair.
You'd have a
probably
Zimmer frame.
Walking stick.
You'd have a Zimmer frame, and you'd drive around in one of those little wagons, with a hood on it to keep the rain out and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Mobility scooter.
Well, no, they didn't have mobility scooters like 25 years ago when people were 80. You just had a little wagon thing.
A wagon?
Yeah,
like
a little three-wheel car.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Okay.
But anyway, listen, there's the second reason why we're playing that. The second reason is, and I'm sure millions of our listeners will remember this.
Yeah, maybe.
A lady called Molly Peters has died, very sadly, and she was a Bond girl.
Okay.
And she died this week, just a couple of days ago. But she was the girl in Thunderball who attended to Mr. Bond at the rehabilitation clinic. When M was it? Is it M? Yeah, M.
Well, I don't know. You're the guy telling the story.
When M decided that James Bond was drinking too much vodka and eating too much caviar, he was sent off to the rehabilitation farm, right? And then, of course, he stumbled upon
Is this part of the movie, or real?
This is part of the movie.
Because I don't remember any of this.
Yeah. He was sent to the rehabilitation farm, and what happened was he then stumbled over a plot to replace the pilot of an aeroplane that was carrying nuclear bombs with a double who had had facial surgery in the rehabilitation clinic. Yeah,
is there much more of this?
Yeah, to go and steal it. Anyway, she attends Mr. Bond and puts him on a rack. Okay. To gently stretch the spine.
Oh, yeah.
But the villain comes in and turns the rack up to top speed.
I see.
So James Bond.
Stretched.
Oh, yeah, James Bond's on getting the real rack treatment.
Is this like Procruste's rack?
Well,
it was designed as a torture technique.
I mean, had it gone on for another 30 seconds, he'd have been dead.
I think if this music goes on for another 30 seconds, hang on.
She rushes in. Molly rushes in. Except she wasn't called Molly. She was called something else in the film.
I see.
She was born Molly Peters.
Really?
But in the film, she was Nurse Fearing. Believe it or not. Yeah, well, typical Bond name.
Yeah.
And she rushes in, sees James Bond nearly dead, switches it off, right? And then he said, "Oh my God, and all that kind of stuff." And then she says, "Oh, please don't tell anybody, I'll get the sack."
Right.
And the inevitable happens.
Yes.
James Bond.
Well, there's no need to describe it.
Well, he then says, "I won't tell anybody," but obviously, and then he seduces the lady in the steam shower.
The steam shower.
And the scenes were so, in those days, so racy and so saucy that there was a massive battle between the...
Was this when the Board of Film Censors got the hold of it?
The British Board of Film Censors, you're absolutely right, and Cubby Broccoli, the producer of the film, he refused to cut anything out. Right. They said, "We'll give you an X certificate." That meant half the audience wouldn't be able to see it.
Goodness gracious.
But in the end, Cubby Broccoli won out. But the saddest thing about reading about the tributes to her was that after Thunderball, she made like a handful of TV appearances, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
One other minor film role in a film called Don't Raise the Bridge, Lower the River, which nobody's ever heard of.
No. And
then, because she'd been typecast as a Bond girl, she never worked again.
Really?
Yeah, and that was when she was in her early 30s.
How can you be typecast after one movie?
Well, that's what she was always remembered for, as being, Nurse Fearing, who put James Bond on the rack.
Nowadays, that would have been the opening to a big glittering career, wouldn't it?
Well, I thought
if you had a role in quite what was presumably then quite a glamorous movie.
I would have thought so, but I think the difference is, Mike, that these days we've got Netflix and you've got box sets and you've got all that kind of stuff, know. Whereas in those days, it was either television or the silver screen.
Yes.
And on the silver screen, she was known as Nurse Fearing in the Bond film, and apparently it was very hard to place her in any other film because that's what people would associate her with,
How bizarre.
Yeah.
Now, I got an amazing story to tell you, actually.
Oh, yes.
Which I've been keeping for today
because
I discovered it just a couple of days ago.
Excellent.
And it was one of our esteemed listeners who tweeted this story to me. There's a new book out, basically.
Yeah.
And it's all about, how we're always keeping an eye on things about the old Fleet Street.
Oh, yes.
And there's a book by a guy called Robert Waterhouse.
Right.
Who's written a book called The Other Fleet Street.
Bob Waterhouse. I don't remember
do you know
him.
a guy called Robert Waterhouse?
No, I don't think I ever worked with a guy.
Anyway, there's an amazing story in here, which is one that's very, very familiar to me because you've told it to me in the past.
Right.
And it's about the Yorkshire Ripper.
Yes.
And about how you discovered that he was actually, the identity of who he was.
Yes.
Because you made a phone call,
That's
or a
right.
phone call came into you.
To a house in Heaton in Bradford.
Yeah, that's right. Where apparently the police were searching the house.
They were.
Right.
They'd arrived at the house en masse.
And a neighbour had rung the desk where you were at the Express, and you had then somehow got him to give you the number of his next door neighbour because he said there's an awful lot of police here.
It was across the road, actually. It was the neighbour across the road.
You'd made the call to a police officer who answered the phone, and you asked him, what's he found, and he said, 3 hammers, 4 chisels, 3 knives, 1 a car, but very sharp. Yeah. You then said, what about fingerprints? And the police officer says, being fingerprinted now, sir, may I have your name, sir? Yeah. And this is where the story changes, right? Because your story said that you then gave your name and told them you were from the Daily Express. Right. In the story that's in this new book, it's a different name. A man called Stanley Blenkinsop.
Yep, Stan Blenkinsop was the news editor of the Daily Express.
Manchester Daily Express.
Very famous news editor,
right?
Yeah.
So he's telling this story to a guy who's writing a book, right, which is identical to the story you've told.
Yes.
So I'm going to put it to you that you've stolen his story and started telling it.
No, I haven't stolen his story.
And in fact, it was his call that was made to the house.
No.
It was his conversation with the police officer, and it was his story to tell.
Well, Stan must have made another call, because I'll tell you exactly what my call was.
So he made the same call as you did, because you've told that exact story.
No, I haven't told that exact story.
Yeah,
I'll tell you the exact story that I know, because I did it, right? I was on the news desk that night, right, and the guy rang and he said, look, I don't know if it's any help to you and all. I said, there's a rumour going round that they've got the Ripper. I said, there is indeed. We've got reporters all over the northwest. I said, why, do you know anything? He said, I live in Heaton in Bradford. He said, and the house opposite me is the fella living there. He's a lorry driver and he's a wife. They keep themselves. But the house has just literally been invaded by police. There's police cars all over the place. I said, right, OK. I said, do you know the chap's name? He said, yeah, I do. He said, it's Peter Sutcliffe. Yeah. I said, right. I said, could you do me a favour? Because in those days we didn't have the electronics we have now. I said, have you got a phone book for your area? He said, yes. Yeah. I said...
Didn't you have a phone book for Bradford in the office?
I may have had, but he had one in front of him. I said, could you do me a favour? Can you... Because I didn't even know the name of the street at this stage. I said, could you look in your phone book and find out what your neighbour's number is, Peter Sutcliffe? Yeah. He said, yeah, OK, sure, I'll do that for you. So I looked it up and he gave it me. I said, thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you. And I said, and what's your number? So I took his number, right? That's fine. So then I rang the house, right? And a policeman, as we now know it, answered the phone. Right. And all I said was, oh, hello, mate. He said, yeah. I said, it's division here, because I'd seen that in some police
so you actually pretended to be the police?
Yes, I did,
Which is an offence?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is an offence.
Division what? Division 1, Division 2,
impersonating a police officer.
No.
Yeah, it's an offence.
No. I said, is that the Ripper's house? And the guy said, yeah. I said, great. Peter Sutcliffe, yeah? He said, yeah. He said, who are you? I said, the Daily Express. He said, oh, no, and slammed the phone down.
Should he not have said, you were only on last night? Or a bit earlier?
What?
Shouldn't he have said, we had that Stanley Blenkinsop on a bit earlier?
Well, I doubt if Stanley Blenkinsop would have told him his name. I don't know.
He did. According to that, what I just read you out, he said, when the guy said, what's your name? He said, Blenkinsop. And he said, where from? And he said, the Daily Express.
Yeah, no, he said, is that... No,
well, one of you's not telling the truth.
No, he said, is that division? And I said, no, it's the Daily Express. I never pretended to be a policeman. I never
you're the one that told me you did.
No, I didn't. No,
you can't remember the story yourself that you've made up now, can you?
I certainly
That's why you can't remember it.
I certainly can.
It's a shocking state of affairs.
And by the way...
Seen the time, by the way,
I'm not having that taken off me. That was my part in catching the Ripper. Yeah, and a bit later on, I'm going to tell you how I've been swindled out of the respect I should have for breaking the news of Diana, Princess of Wales's death.
Tissue of lies.
No, that's another one that's been taken away from me, so I'm not having it.
All right, never mind.
It's a wonderful night, gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, gotta shake it from me.
This is TalkSport, we are the two Mike. Sam says this, MG, is Porky okay this morning? He's not interrupting and talking over guests and you as much as he usually does. It's a bit odd.
Yeah, well...
Are you feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling absolutely fine, thank you, and it's not odd at all. Now then, I have to remind you of something, right?
Read a couple more tweets out.
Sorry?
We've got a lot of tweets coming in.
We've got a lot of tweets to come out. Just before that, let me remind you, of course, you are listening to the two Mikes.
Oh, yes.
We're on TalkSport, we're with Wix, and right now there's a 3 for 2 across gardens and landscaping, including all decking and wood care.
Here's one from Damon, who says, Porky reminds me of Diane Abbott when he's retelling a story. He hasn't got a clue.
Well, I have to say, the poor lady obviously is ill now, and I have sympathy for her and hope she gets better soon and all that. But she did look particularly what's the word? Distracted.
Distracted, yeah,
yes,
I would say so.
When I saw
David
on TV.
says this on the subject of the tough mudder and dressing up as Marines and all of that. Yeah. So I'd love to hear Jose's reaction if Rashford gets seriously injured dressed up as an action man.
Yeah.
Well, there is that aspect of it to think about, isn't there?
What?
the injuries possibilities of England players
I totally
going
agree.
through some very, very hard marine course.
I totally agree. You know, these guys in the SAS, you know, they go across the Brecon Beacons. They have to run about 25 miles with huge weights on their back, like 3 or 4
Well,
stones.
there's been cases recently, unfortunately, of people actually expiring, isn't there?
They can die of heat stroke and all that kind of stuff. But one guy I know completed the last 12 miles with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him, actually, but I know of him.
You've heard about it,
The tale was related to me.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I want to talk to you about foods because, as usual...
Well, I've still got some more tweets to read.
Oh, yes, please do, yes.
Here's one from Brent who says, talking about bonding, working for a new company at a conference evening meal, I had to move to the next table after each of 5 courses.
Yeah.
Absolute misery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Horrendous.
Absolutely.
Here's one from Dave who says, MG, now we know why he's called Porky, and he's got hashtag Porky's Ripping Yarns.
Ripping Yarns, yeah, that's
And
that's good,
one
yeah.
from Helm who says, Mike Parry, backtrack Supremo.
What do you mean?
Plankton
Backtrack?
Supremo.
I'm not backtrack. I told you exactly the same story as I've told you before. By the way, we get some tweets here on the Liam and Noel Gallagher situation.
Ah, yes.
Don't see the issue with Liam Gallagher playing Wall of Glass. He wasn't playing as Oasis or BDI. Why play their songs? Well, you made the point that it was a little bit sort of opportunist.
Well, let's put it this way. It's not the kind of thing that perhaps you would do as a general rule, because he was invited as Manchester's kind of top act, as it were, to do probably a couple of Oasis songs.
He was,
It's a bit like George Michael was criticised very heavily on the closing ceremony of the Olympics, because instead of doing the one song that everybody wanted to hear, which was, Careless Whisper or something like that, a Wham song, he did his new single.
He did, yeah.
Which was seen very much as a sort of self-promotion event.
And not only that, but when you hear a record for the first time, you can't work out whether you like it or not. You've got to hear it 2 or 3 times, and so I did think that was unfair. But getting back to the Oasis situation, okay, I don't think Noel Gallagher is responding to to Liam's accusations of being mean-spirited and all that kind of stuff.
But the word from his camp is that he wasn't asked to go, right?
The word from his camp is because somebody rather unkindly used a picture of him sitting on a boat somewhere off Italy, drinking a glass
why
of
was
wine.
that unkind?
Well, because they were trying to make out that while this concert was going on here, he was lazing on a boat in the Mediterranean,
which was true.
Well, and he's allowed to because that's
there's nothing wrong with the truth.
He owns the boat. He's allowed to recline on it. But no, the story coming back is that he's extremely upset to have been attacked on this, and that he said, I was never invited to go to the concert. Chris Martin certainly didn't invite me, okay? He signed over the royalties to Don't Look Back in Anger after it became the fund's anthem. So he's, made a big financial donation.
Right.
And he says, in his defence, it was actually Liam acting like a diva, demanding a private jet to fly him to Manchester on the premise he could perform his new single.
Right.
A friend of Noel's said, Noel's been getting a real bashing for not being at the gig, which is totally out of order. He's been hugely supportive of the cause, but hasn't gone public, as in his mind, it's not about him. Now, what he means there about not about him is, just imagine if Noel Gallagher had turned up. Then the worldwide focus would then be on the reunion of Oasis.
Although I could have seen a way to do it, actually, because as far as I could tell, I mean, if, for example, when Coldplay walked off the stage and said, there's a massive, great, big surprise coming now, I didn't think Liam Gallagher was it, because Liam Gallagher isn't a massive, great, big surprise, I'm afraid, because he's the lesser of the 2 Gallagher brothers in the end, right?
Yes.
As Steve Lillywhite told us, his residuals are drying up.
Yeah.
There must be nothing worse than a pop star whose residuals are drying up. Because what it means is he's not making any more money.
I don't want my dried up residuals.
Exactly. You're not making any more money. So I would have thought what would have been nice, and I don't think it would have taken away from the whole event, would be if Liam had done, say, 2 songs, right? And maybe one of them could have been his own. And then suddenly Noel walks on to do the last song together and then just walks off again and they don't talk. That would have been brilliant.
It would have been a worldwide event, which I think would have eclipsed the purpose of
I don't think it would have.
the concert.
I think if they'd come on together and they'd had a proper reunion and put their arms around each other and made it look like they were back together, that would have been one thing. But for him to come on and just stand there, play the guitar and let Liam sing the song and then walk off, I think that would have worked.
You're right about it not being a great big worldwide event, by the way, about Liam just appearing, because he'd actually kindly done a show of his own just 2 nights
just
earlier.
a couple of nights earlier.
In Manchester.
Right.
So they are. Now, I want to talk to you about
food. He was terribly sullen throughout the whole thing as
you
well.
Said
I
that.
really did think...
Yeah, you said
What do you
that.
mean I said that?
You said that a couple of days ago. You said he was very morose.
So, I'm sorry, is that a new rule on the 2 Mike show? Once you've said something once, you can't say it again?
No,
is that the deal? Because that will ruin all the stories you tell, which you tell inevitably about 8 times.
No need to get
I'm just going to start saying you said that now whenever you say anything.
No, what I'm saying is I was actually praising you for saying, yes, you pointed that out a couple of days ago.
Sound like that.
Okay.
Anyway, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk to you about food, you see, because you are one of these oafs who for years has been telling me, oh, you know, you're going to kill yourself eating white bread. Listen to this.
I've never said that.
Listen to this.
I've never said that.
White bread is just as good for us as brown, say new research.
But that's not the stuff you buy out of a plastic packet in a supermarket.
They reckon
they're not talking about that stuff that you eat.
They reckon wholemeal loaves should not be labelled as healthier. It comes after tests show that eating white and whole wheat sourdough for a week had no effect on 20 factors in the body.
Whole wheat sourdough is very different from white bread. You wouldn't even know that.
No, white bread or whole wheat sourdough.
Yeah. So whole wheat sourdough is very different from white bread.
Well, yeah, this is brown bread and white bread. That's what we're saying, okay? Now then, it says they included fat, cholesterol, vitamin levels, liver and kidney function, the balance of healthy gut bugs. Oh, yeah, I'm really worried about them.
I'll just have some jam on the bread.
Yeah, exactly. Half the 20 participants had better blood sugar readings when eating white bread.
Really?
While the rest did better on brown bread. Erin Siegel of the Weizmann Institute of Science...
Where is the Weizmann Institute of Science?
Well, not as you think in Germany. It's in Tel Aviv.
Okay.
In Israel.
Right.
Said the test results were surprising. He said findings are not only fascinating but potentially very important. Now, for years, you know, I've been getting grief off you. Oh, you don't feed your ducks white bread,
well,
you know.
No, excuse me. It is not me that gives you grief about the ducks, right?
Yeah.
I do not have any expert advice for you on that front. However, lots of other people do, including those who put up signs at duck ponds which say, please do not feed bread to the ducks.
They're ill-informed. They're ill-informed. I wouldn't feed my ducks stuff that was not good for them.
You're not supposed to give them bread.
Wet bread in the water is fine.
It's not.
It's the dry bread
it's
dry bread on the ground,
true.
which people make a mistake.
No, you're
Whenever I see
wrong.
it, I always kick it into the water because it needs moisture.
You're completely wrong.
But no, the other thing is, there's nothing better than getting a... Well, you'll know because you worked in a bakery.
I did.
You get a warm loaf and take it home after you've worked all night or something like that, and you cut into that warm bread and then you spread it with butter, loads and loads of butter, and then jam. And that's the most beautiful meal in the world, a jam butty.
Well, it's not actually, but I mean, whatever you say.
Yeah. But,
You've said that before, you know.
What? Oh, yeah, I said that before, yeah, okay. Now then, listen.
Look at the time. Have you got to watch?
You've got to
right?
watch, yeah.
It's now time for the news.
Okay, let's have the news. Let's have some news.
This is TalkSport.
It's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. I've got a great tweet here, actually, from Stephen.
Yeah.
Who says, Liam and Noel are like you two. One talented, forward-thinking, the other outspoken and full of hot air.
Oh, that's nice of him to say that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions.
Sorry you get branded
as to which one is which.
Like that, but there we are. I'm not getting into that discussion.
No.
Now then, what I was going to say to you was,
yes.
I quite like this FA initiative on trying to stop, unruly fans going away and all that. Now, how many times have I told you that I've never been on a stag night, right?
You have told me that many times.
Much less would I ever go on a stag weekend. You know, I hear about people all the time go to Barcelona for 4 days, go to Ibiza for a week or something like that. That's not a stag night. That is simply a drunken celebration and just an excuse for it. So if people are using England away games like that, then I'm absolutely delighted they're clamping down.
But is it not part of the whole kind of shebang, as it were? I mean, if you're going, for example, if your club's playing away in Europe, and you're, say, next season you might be a Man United fan travelling to Marseille, you might go to Barcelona, you might go wherever.
Some nice places.
You make you some nice places. I mean, maybe if you're an Everton fan, you'll be going to horrible places in the Europa
Poland
League.
And places
well,
like
I'm not
that.
saying Poland's horrible. Poland can be a lovely place.
Yeah, there are parts of Eastern Europe which aren't that good.
But shall we say they won't be like Munich and Barcelona and capital cities, Paris, that kind of thing?
Well, they will be because all the teams in Europe have teams in the UEFA League. Europa Cup.
Do you mean the Europa League?
Europa.
You better learn the name of the competition your club is in.
Right, yeah.
Well, then I expect you to go to all of them then.
Well, I don't think I'll have time.
Really?
If you remember a few years back when we were in Europe, I went off to Romania.
You've told that story, yes.
I went off to Spain.
Yes.
Where else? I think I went to Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I don't know where you went.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do it. But the point is, when you get a group of guys together and their sole intention is to get as inebriated as you possibly can at Gatwick Airport for 4 hours and then a flight for 3 hours somewhere into Europe, it is not good practice. And I don't know why and where this has grown up, because I travelled with England for about 3 years.
Yeah.
You know...
well, you were associated with the FA at one point.
Well, I was associate FA.
In fact, we should talk about that. We got that coming up, of course, with Henry Winter's
Yes, we have,
Tales from the Dark Side.
Yes, we have.
Of when the year that you ran football and everything went horribly wrong.
No, it didn't. It went horribly right.
Well, it didn't, actually.
But anyway, we'll get to that later. The point is, as a result of having, good contacts at the FA, I did travel with England on behalf of TalkSport for about 3 seasons with that very successful young producer who travelled around with me.
Who was that?
He's not with us any longer.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Is that the young man who was involved in some nefarious activity
we don't want to get into that. We don't get into that. All TalkSport people are good people. Remember that.
That's why he's not here anymore.
Well, career paths and career paths. Now then, I used to see quite a lot of regular England fans. They were in the England Supporters Club and the Travelling Club.
I was going to say, there is a travelling club.
Yeah,
and are we being told that these people who made the Nazi salutes in Germany are not part of that travelling club?
Well, listen, unprecedented life bans have been issued to 2 members of the England Supporters Club who travelled together to the friendly against Germany in March. One of the men was caught on police footage taunting German supporters in Dortmund with Nazi salutes, and the other made Hitler moustache and throat-cutting gestures. Now, obviously, the FA have got to clamp down on that sort of despicable behaviour.
But my question is, were they members of the club?
I said to you, Mike, at the start, 2 members of the England Supporters Club.
Right, okay.
Those are the people who travel.
They're in it.
They're official.
The FA should be very, very careful who they let into this club.
They should be careful who they let in. I think they are making more checks, but they should be very, very careful about throwing people out like that. And they have done that. They've got exclusion orders. Some of the guys who have disgraced our country abroad can no longer travel because they're not allowed out of the country or into the country they're going to.
But we spoke to Dave Kidd earlier, right, who told us he was at the game, and like most people who were at the game, right-thinking people, many of them in the media, some of whom just ordinary fans, they were a sizable number, he said, a very large number, even though it was a minority of the fans. It was a big number. It wasn't just 2 people.
No.
So if they're kicking 2 people out, then that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but you see, I'm just going to read a bit more to you. Not all those misbehaving in the segregated England section in Dortmund were ESC members, England Sports Club, because the German stewards did not do a very good job, did not properly control access to that area. As a result, England fans with tickets to other parts of the stadium were able to join the ESC enclosure and congregate there.
Right.
So that's,
Was that standing then? Were they standing?
Well, they might have been standing in front of their seats, but there wasn't standing room for that game. No, it was
but you know how in some German stadiums you are allowed to stand?
No, they're not.
Standing.
No, it wasn't. No, it was all seated.
Well, so how did they get into a place where there were reserved seats? I don't understand.
Who knows? Who knows? You know, the machinations of football stadiums.
Yeah, but I don't think you could do that here, could you? I mean, we were at Hampden, for example. We went up to Hampden for the Celtic Rangers game. I mean, you have an assigned seat. You can't just decide to go and sit somewhere else.
Well, you can get in there. And look, there's plenty of ways of standing. You stand behind the back row. You stand,
but that's
in the aisles and all that kind of stuff.
Technically speaking, the stewards don't allow that, do they?
Well, that's the point I've just made. The stewards weren't doing their job properly,
Okay.
But I mean, I'm delighted that we've put the focus on it, because if there's one thing that dents the reputation of a country, it's the behaviour of its citizens
there's nothing
abroad.
Worse.
It's
absolutely
horrendous.
Nothing worse.
And it is, generally speaking, just an English thing. It's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
Anyway, there we are.
Now, I've got another question to ask you, which is of course football related. We mentioned earlier when we were talking to Steve Lillywhite about Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And the fact that he's off to somewhere.
Yeah.
Is it not possible that he's being a bit cute here? And where he's saying the words, I know where I'm going, is there not the possibility that he could be actually staying?
I know
everybody seems convinced that he's going to either Chelsea or Man United or somewhere.
Yes.
And they're probably right. But I'm saying he's been quite cute like this before. He's given the odd interview, and it's always in international breaks, isn't it? Where he talks about, I'd like to play in the Champions League. I'm ambitious to play for a club in the top 4. All of that kind of thing.
You think he might have said it in a generic way?
Yeah.
We know where we're going, i.e. we're going nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be a bit of double speak.
Well, it could be, but a lot of people have been speculating in this morning's newspapers, and these guys have very good contacts, that he's off to Chelsea.
Yes.
And that, he didn't really get on with Mourinho last time. I think the issue really is how much they're going to have to pay to get him, and whether or not Everton will ask ridiculous money, as they should. It was a great deal. Do you know what I'm surprised about?
But it's not, though. I mean, Romelu Lukaku is, in my view, I'm sorry, and you may take issue with my view, but I don't think he's a £100 million player, even in this inflated market.
I don't either, I have to admit.
I mean, you're basically saying that's Gareth Bale territory.
Yeah, you are.
And he's not that good.
No, I have to agree with that. Lukaku, you can go wherever you want to. And I agree with you. I agree with you that
That's something you've never said.
Well, I am now, because I tend to believe those scribes who've got the inside story that he's on his way to Chelsea.
But Virgil van Dijk...
I wish him luck in his future career.
But you see, you may have to eat humble pie if it turns out he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, we'll have to,
I'm just preparing you for that.
Yeah, we'll have to, yeah.
What about Virgil van Dijk? 60 million.
Well, this is all to do with the issue that you first raised. You know, City say they're going to spend 300 million. Who are they going to spend it on? Yeah. So that brings in the supply and demand factor.
Yes.
And when there's few players and lots of money, the price is going to go up.
Sure. Absolutely right. And we'll find out whether he is the man for Liverpool as and when he joins them. But it looks very much as though that will happen. I've got one quick tweet here from Aaron who says, there's nothing wrong with a stag trip. I'm off to Hamburg for 3 days on Friday.
Yeah, but you see, that's a disaster, man. That is a disaster.
How do you know?
Well, you know, because you're going... The trouble with stag trips is, or any stag do, you're going with a mindset in which I must get as intoxicated as I can tonight.
And possibly get up to no good.
Yeah, that's right. Or over the next 3 days, because if I don't, I'm not going to be one of the lads, because all the other lads are going to get intoxicated, so I will as well. I think they're pathetic stag nights, because the problem is, unless they're properly organised, unless it's a meal or something like that, it is just mass bladderation.
Maybe when you get married later in life, or for the second time, it's a more civilised event.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I'll let you know if that happens.
Well, it's not going to happen to you, mate.
How do you know?
Well,
how do you know I'm not going to get remarried?
I know your lifestyle.
You don't know that.
You
don't know that.
I think I do, mate.
I don't think you do. There's a lot you don't know about me.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. There's a lot of people saying interesting things about stag do's. Here's one from Chris. What's Porky got against stag do's? I'm going to Prague this weekend for a stag. I take it he's never been on one. And, of course, you did say that. Simon says there's a good reason why Porky's never been on a stag night. No one's ever invited him.
Well, actually, that's pretty near to the truth, because, no, I tell you what, you know, when you're of that age and all this, I said, no, I'm not interested. And they stopped inviting me because they thought that I was, you know, I'd turned into some kind of born-again Christian or something like that, you know.
But not there's anything against born-again Christians.
I don't like being in groups when somebody's telling you...
Well, I'll tell you what, look at this. You would hate this. Aaron, who's going to Hamburg, right?
Right.
Guess how many people are going on the trip?
Go on.
28.
You see, I couldn't bear that.
Yeah.
It's so completely out of control. And the point is, once there's somebody comes up with the right idea, is, oh, right, let's have a pot, you know, and you've got to put 10 quid in or 20 quid or something like that. That means that your indivical ability to control any sort of situation within a stag night is lost.
But also,
somebody else is buying your drinks.
And I must admit, I mean, I do tend to go along with you a little bit on this. I mean, because 28 people arriving in a bar or a restaurant and waiting to get 28 drinks organised and all of that, it just sounds like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. I'll tell you something. I was in a stockbroker belt boozer a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
And it was...
that wasn't the last time you were in a stockbroker belt
boozer.
boozer,
No, it wasn't. No, it was just on this particular day. And I was having a nice, relaxing day because we weren't working that night, right? Okay?
Right.
And I thought, this is great, you know, and my papers spread out because I'm always looking for information and that kind of stuff. And sorry, what's your problem?
I thought they were journals that you read, as opposed to you've given it away now.
No.
You get it all out of the papers.
Oh, no. I read newspapers as a matter of course, but my journals are not transportable from home, which is where I mostly study them, and go through them.
What an exciting life you lead.
You know, they're medical and all that kind of stuff, engineering, that sort of stuff, military, you know. So anyway, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking how quiet and placid it is. What a lovely time of the day to be here.
Yes.
And then I heard a noise from round the other side of the bar where the main entrance door is, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the noise got louder, and then it got louder, then it got louder. And all of a sudden, my private space was being invaded by kids aged about 16, 17.
Well, surely they were over 18.
Well, I assume there must have been. You're absolutely right. But I think there were some there who were drinking non-alcoholic drinks who were allowed in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And do you know what happened?
Yeah.
A local high school had gone on a nature walk or something, right?
Yeah.
And ended up here. They invaded the place.
Well, were they in school uniform, all these people?
No, they were in hiking uniform.
Okay.
But they had all their bags.
Hiking uniform?
Yeah, all their bags.
Well, like lederhosen or something?
No, lederhosen, no. Like trainers and tracksuits and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But all their bags said, you know, whatever high school it was, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they made the most terrific noise. I mean, they were
it's called other customers.
No, they were.
It's
but
not
they're
your own
disturbing
private,
my peace.
Yeah, but it's not your own private fiefdom.
And they were locusts. They were like locusts. They descended like locusts, right? They had a few drinks.
Stripped the place, did they?
Loads of bags of crisps, and then when somebody blew a whistle, believe it or not, they all disappeared again as quick as they'd arrived, and they left behind, half-empty glasses, bags of crisps, half-eaten crisps, peanuts all over the floor.
Excuse me, I'm
sure
the people that owned the pub were very grateful for the business. You were the only miserable git in there on one particular afternoon.
Yeah, but they weren't actually, because they said, we have these in sometimes, he says, and they're dreadful, as they drive everybody else out, and between 40 of them probably bought 6 Coca-Colas, you know what I mean, or something like that.
Right, okay.
But anyway,
well, I'm sorry your day was so badly ruined.
Now, do you know what turmeric is?
What?
Turmeric.
Turmeric,
is it?
Yeah, it's a spice.
Right. Do you know it's new?
Yellow.
It is the new super.
In fact,
yeah,
I'll tell you a story about turmeric.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, because I ran out of it actually.
You ran
not
out
that
of it?
long ago. And
what do you
funnily
put
enough,
it in?
Curry. Largely.
Curry, all right.
But you can put it in lots of other things. It's very yellow. You know, it's the stuff, if you go into a restaurant and you get yellow rice,
yes,
you can use turmeric to make your rice yellow.
Can you?
You just put a little drop into the water as you're boiling it. But funnily enough, I was cooking, I made a curry last night.
Yes.
After coming home at about, I don't know what time I got home, about 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
After a bit of afternoon libation.
Right.
And I made a curry last night, which took some turmeric, because I ran out and I had to, funnily enough, I had to go to Borough Market, where there's a fantastic place called the Spice Mountain.
Right.
Which is where I buy all my spices. And I've got some there.
Yes. Well, it's now the new cure for nagging knee syndrome.
I don't know what that is.
Nagging knee syndrome is the first indication of arthritis in people as they get older.
I don't have that.
No, I don't have it either.
You've got a dodgy knee, though, haven't you?
No.
Yeah, you do.
No, I've got a dodgy shoulder.
You had a bad knee like about 3-4 months ago.
No, I've corrected that. That was the medial ligament in the inside of my knee. It was swollen.
Swollen?
Yeah, so I'm
too much genuflecting.
No. I'd been, pacing it a bit too fast across the ups and downs.
Oh, really?
And strained it, know. But what I've got at the moment is I've got frozen shoulder.
You should have got to the vets. You shot you.
That's right. Yeah,
down at Epsom. You should have that problem with horses.
Yeah, I would have said, we'll just give you this injection, Mr. Parry. But no, I've got frozen shoulder at the moment, which is a bit of a pain.
Right.
But anyway, there you go. So anyway, it says, when your joints and muscles earn you a living, it's important to look after them as well as you can.
Yeah.
You should now be taking.
When you say taking turmeric, do you mean as in tablet form rather than in a sort of powder?
Well, it says here, you're quite right. It says turmeric has long been popular in traditional Indian medicine and is recognised as one of nature's superfoods. The spice, a member of the ginger family, rich in compounds called curcuminoids, and is now attracting the attention of scientists, nutritionists, healthcare professionals looking for ways to improve the joint health and flexibility. Okay. Now, this has led to the provision of a new tablet called the Turmeric Plus, which is a supplement developed by the Cambridge-based Research Institute, and it says, it really is like the new superdrug. Now, I'm thinking of taking this because my frozen shoulder. This is
not going to turn you yellow, is it?
No, it won't turn you yellow.
It's a very, very strong colour. And if you put it into any sort of food, it gives you that sort of yellowy flavour.
I went out with a girlfriend once. We went to an Indian restaurant in Clapham, and she had on one of these sort of brace and bib type dresses. You know what I mean?
Brace and bib?
Yeah, type of.
Well, I mean, like a pair of dungarees type thing.
Sort of thing, but much smarter. Very fashionable and all that.
Doesn't sound like it.
And it was light blue, and she got incredibly intoxicated. No, honestly, and and she was sloshing all over the table. I
mean, some of the dates you went on must have been horrendous.
It must have been,
just awful.
And she leaned forward across the table to try and kiss me, And
that's a horrendous image. That is, awful.
And she had, quite a well-developed sort of figure.
That's fine.
And she leaned across the table and she grabbed me, and then she went back. And then the following morning, her whole of her top of her dress was yellow, because she was having chicken biryani, and it had yellow rice in it, and it must have been the turmeric.
It would have been the turmeric.
It never came out, by the way.
No,
it's a very expensive piece of clothing, and it ruined it completely.
Oh, it does.
So if you get it on your clothing when you're in an Indian restaurant,
that's what I'm saying.
You should take care.
So if you actually have it if you're ingesting it in some form which is not the powder, I don't know whether the colouring is still in there.
Well, it says years of intensive.
A bit like that Sunny Delight people used to drink, turn them orange.
Well, do you remember Chris Dukanovic,
I do.
Picture editor at the Express?
Yeah.
He came one morning late, and it's because his child had to be taken to the hospital.
Yeah.
And, the doctor, I think. The child had been diagnosed of poisoning from that Sunny Delight.
Yeah, it was awful stuff.
He said that
I had to stop my kids drinking it.
They would go to the fridge, open it, and drink a half-litre bottle without stopping.
Yeah.
And they'd do that 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, it had something in it which made it kind of
addictive. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
Anyway, it says here...
Andre the Duke had that problem with wine, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He fell asleep in the loo once. Remember? We had to break the door down. He didn't want to go to the loo, but he needed to sit down, and he was very intoxicated back from lunch. So instead of coming back to his desk, he went into the loo in their new building. So they're all sparklingly new loos and all that. He thought, this would be nice. Went into a cubicle, shut the door, fell so fast asleep that people banging on the door couldn't wake him. We had to get somebody to take the door off.
That's right, I remember that.
Yeah. But anyway, it says here, years of intensive research led to the development of the formulation used in Turmeric Plus.
Yeah.
Each tablet contains...
It's turmeric, by the way.
Turmeric, is it? Turmeric,
some people say turmeric.
Turmeric, OK. Each tablet contains curcumin with another plant extract called soy lecithin.
Really?
Right?
Excellent.
The soy lecithin creates a supplement that is extremely bioavailable.
Is it?
Yeah,
well, I'm glad about that. Thank you for telling me.
Meaning that it's better absorbed by the body than just eating the turmeric. So they put it into this compound with other stuff, and it gets into your blood system.
Yeah, well,
quicker.
maybe you start taking it. See what it does for you.
I am. I'm going to get some.
All right,
I'm going to get some.
You get some.
I'm going to boot actually after the show.
Now, coming up, we're going to talk to this heroic Millwall fan who took on the 3 terrorists in the Borough Market the other weekend, and we're going to find out how he's doing. He's still recovering. He's in hospital. Yeah. He's going to talk to us coming up next. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes on TalkSport. We've got lots coming up in this hour, including Porky Vision, the best TV review this side of New Zealand. If you didn't like the Lions game this morning, you might want to listen to Porky Vision and find out what you should be watching instead on television. We're also going to be talking to local hero Roy Larner. He's, of course, a Millwall fan who fought off single-handedly 3 attackers over in Borough Market at the weekend when that terrible, terrible attack took place, and these guys came at him with knives. He took them on with his bare hands. We're going to be speaking to him very shortly. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. Terribly sad news today, Porky, that the death toll has risen to 8 from 7, because we do know that an awful lot of the people who are in hospital are in critical condition. Yeah. And, you know, it may well be that the death toll indeed goes up a little bit more.
And also, we hadn't accounted for the fact that some people have been so terrified they've thrown themselves off the bridge into the river, and a body's been found this morning at Limehouse. It's a very, very tragic situation.
Exactly right. Now, one of the, what you might call, I suppose, heroic stories that came out...
Probably the most heroic man of the night.
Of the Saturday event that took place around London Bridge and around Borough Market, of course, as well, was Roy Larner, who was a Millwall fan, and we've got him on the phone right now. Roy, very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show.
Hi. How are you?
Very well indeed, Roy. We're very well indeed. And can I just add my thanks to you for your bravery and the stoicism in the face of an appalling assault. And we all know what happened on Saturday night. You're a very brave man, and proud to be British with you.
So the sad news about another person's died, apparently, are they?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't think any of us really, I mean, we've all seen the footage and the videos, but I don't think any of us can imagine the terror, the sheer terror that people were feeling that Saturday night, Roy, and how you handled it was remarkable. When did you first notice that there was something wrong?
When they started kicking the doors in and pulling out machetes. And they started talking all that rubbish, whatever.
So did you then approach them? Did you go outside, Roy, or did you decide you'd go no further?
They kicked their way in the door and then started pulling out their machetes or whatever, their knives in it.
Mm-hmm. OK. And did you only have your bare hands to protect yourself? Did you pick up a stool or a table? Or?
No, just I don't know, just waded into them as... I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, it's an instinct, I suppose, isn't it? Because you must not have been caring about what was likely to happen to you.
I was with an old person at the time as well, which I was making sure he was all right.
Right.
And there's kids with families in the restaurant. Yeah. At the end of the day, we none of us knew what was going on. It just happened so quick. Right. But the instant reaction was, well... Make sure they were all right as well first.
Yeah, sure.
And eventually, I mean, you obviously were in a lot of pain, I presume. I mean, did they just move on from you to somewhere else and out of that particular place?
Because I was fighting with one of them, they've come back to help him.
Yeah. I see.
Stopped going into the restaurant bit.
Yeah, and
then
they went off. How soon after your encounter with these maniac murderers did the authorities arrive, Roy? I mean, were you lying on the floor bleeding, thinking, what happens now?
They were shot around me within about a minute.
About a minute?
Right.
Yeah. So
they were shot around me. When I went outside, I think they followed me, and then that's when the firing started going, I think.
I see, yeah. Because, of course, they would have been alerted by the people who'd already been knocked down at the end of London Bridge.
Yeah.
Obviously, they was on their way. I mean... Yeah, there was just so many firing shots going around me as well.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a picture of you in the papers, Roy, with a magazine line on your stomach saying "Learn to Run." Was that your Millwall sense of humour coming out there?
That's my mate Aidan's sense of humour.
Mm-hmm. It's good you've got a sense of humour. Now, Roy, also, there's a picture of you in one of the newspapers this morning. You look in amazing shape, considering what you've been through, and you've clearly a man who's got tremendous courage, and you've faced up to it. But I noticed both your arms are bandaged to some extent. Now, have you got what might be described as life-changing injuries? Because I know that, you can lose tendons and nerves in hands and all that. What's the prognosis?
Luckily, everything will be back to normal.
Oh,
luckily, they never. Well, I mean, they've got some bits, but everything's working still.
Yeah.
Whether that's me just keep moving around when they was hacking away or whatever, but luckily they didn't get any organs or anything.
Okay. Did you at any?
I've got my muscles, fingers in there, but
that's fine.
I will live. I'll still pick a pint up.
You'll still pick a pint up. That's great. Did I read that you've lost a bit of one of your ears?
The ears got sliced off, but the plastic surgeons have put that back on.
They put it back on?
Quite nicely.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, he talks about it as if it's nothing at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm reading here that you had surgery for knife wounds on your head, your fingers, and your chest. I mean, most people wouldn't be even able to talk about it. Never mind laugh about it. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, the hospital staff have done brilliant to keep me as intact.
Yeah. You're in St Thomas's Hospital in London. The staff there are doing a marvellous job for you. Did you at any time, Roy, think, well, this is it now, I don't care what happens to me, I'm going to get waded into this? And did you feel I might be putting my life on the line?
I don't think you think that at the time. It's just instant reaction.
I see.
Yeah.
That's
Incredible stuff.
the Millwall instinct in you.
Yeah,
The
I guess
Millwall
it
instinct,
is.
yeah.
I guess it is. Now, you've got a friend called Jane Jacob, who's a very good friend, because she started up a GoFundMe page, a Just Giving page, I should say.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And you know, it's a crowdfunding situation where people send you money. We're going to be making a donation to it as well. But the target to be raised was £500. Do you know how much is there now?
I've heard a little bit. If you're going to tell me...
28,925. So that's waiting for you when you come out.
That certainly is. And Roy, are your living circumstances a bit unsure at the moment? Are you between places?
Hopefully, Suffolk Council will area up something and try and get me somewhere to come out to, because I was homeless and just staying at people's dresses and that.
Right. Okay.
So let's hope that gets on the way as well.
Yeah, indeed.
And also, because you want to be able to start going to Millwall again once the new season starts, because they're back up in the Championship, aren't they?
Yeah, we're doing well getting there.
That's right. Yeah,
and I've seen a couple of tweets as well from people. I don't know whether they know you or not, but they're all saying, this guy Roy will never have to buy another drink at the Den for the rest of his life.
And I think people down the country have been sending messages as well.
They have. Well, the thing is, I've seen comments that you should be awarded a bravery award, the George Medal, or something like that, and I would fully endorse that, because the thing is, Roy, you've been through this horror, but none of us individually know how we would have reacted in your situation. I bet a lot of us, and I wouldn't blame them, would have run away.
My mate did in the toilet.
Say again?
My mate did the toilet.
Your mate ran off and locked himself in the loo, did he? Well, it's. I think it's all up to the individual how they face up to that sort of thing.
Yeah, he'd be really pleased that you've outed him for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Roy, what are your feelings about your attackers? What are your feelings about this whole situation?
What made me feel good was when they were shot around me.
When they were shot?
Seeing them dead.
Yeah, I see, yeah. Okay, because you must have felt an awful lot of hatred for people, not just because they'd attacked you, because they were attacking fellow citizens, yeah?
They're just brain dead, aren't they?
Yeah, well...
Well, it's awful. Yeah. Absolutely awful. Let's hope we never have to see anything. How long are you expecting to be in the hospital for? How soon do you think you'll get out?
About another week.
Another week, yeah.
Okay. Well,
before that.
I'm sure by the time you come out, mate, somebody will have found, proper accommodation for you. You'll need obviously care and attention when you get out and get home. I hope all that will be sorted. Do you have family that you can rely on?
Yes, I have got good family and friends around me, so
yes,
hopefully.
That's excellent. Okay, all right. Well, Roy, thank you very much for talking to us. It's been an absolute privilege. You're a very brave man, and I hope things work out for you as well as they can.
Roy, thank you very much indeed. Roy Larner there, who's down at St Thomas's Hospital. And the GoFundMe page, Just Giving page, I should say, is this, www.justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Jane, and that's Jayne, #Jacob, Jane Jacob.
Is that a hashtag? Well, I've got a dash.
Sorry, a dash. My apologies. Yes. And what we'll do is we'll tweet that out as well, and we'll put it out on Facebook for anyone who wants to donate to Roy's cause, because it certainly is a very, very good one. Yeah. This is TalkSport.
I'm going slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad.
Right, now then, of course, this is the Two Mics. We're on TalkSport and we are with Wix, OK? Now, right now, there is a 3 for 2 across gardens and landscaping, including all decking and wood care.
I'm slightly mad.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. I've just put out Roy Larner's Just Giving page.
Yes.
So if you go to our Twitter, at the Two Mics and at IROMG,
that's right.
You can find it there. I'll put it on our Facebook page as well.
Great.
One suggestion from Eric says Roy should be the new mayor of London. Certainly a terribly brave man.
Yeah, very brave man.
What he's been through.
And thanks for putting that out. I've just retweeted that. So it's now out to about 250,000 people. Please have a look at it and really have a listen to what he had to say.
Hey, look, you'll like this one. This is from Dave. He says, I love listening to Mr. Parry, but I've had to turn off due to the constant point-scoring schoolboy sarcasm from Mike Graham.
Oh, right. So somebody thinks you're a bit... a bit sort of fond of yourself.
Do you think he doesn't understand the show?
Well, no. I think he just thinks that you think you're a lot smarter than the average bear, and
I don't think that.
You think you should whack me across the the ear every now and then. But it's backfiring on you because
no, it's not.
The listener is seeing you for what you are.
Incorrect. No, Dave
rather empty vessel. He thinks he's cleverer than he is.
No, Dave is one of those guys who obviously loves you and doesn't like me, which is fair enough.
Well, there's quite a few of them.
I'm perfectly happy to accept that. However, the problem, Dave, is as you will probably realise, or maybe not. That if I didn't constantly interrupt Porky, he would never stop talking.
Well, that's
he just wouldn't stop.
Listen, all properties and features have a demand, and I'm in demand. It's as simple as that.
You are indeed. Now, Julia, who is another one of your fans, says, take the turmeric pork chop and bath in Himalayan salt, and your shoulder will improve.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much,
sent,
Julia.
Happily, 2 little bottles of stuff there.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
right.
you put Himalayan salt in the bath and take some of this turmeric strength for the whole body, and you can be a new man.
I certainly will. Thank you very much indeed. Right, now then, Mike, me and... so 2 Mikes, actually. Me and 4 others went on the Stag do to Belgium at the Formula 1 race last August, and it was the best weekend away. Watching Formula 1 during the day, partying, on the campsite at night. Awesome. I cannot think of anything worse. A stag night in Europe in a tent...
I know. Well, it's not the sort of thing that you'd be into, is it? I told you last weekend I had to go and find my son, right, who had gone off with some friends and their parents to a campsite somewhere in the middle of nowhere, right? It was about 14 miles away from the house where we live. Yeah. But, could I find this place?
Is this in a particular forest?
In Sussex. Well, it was in a forest, but I don't know if the forest got a name. Right. But it was very, very
you're looking for a forest with no name?
Well, I had a postcode, which I put into the sat-nav, right? And the problem with sat-navs, as you know, is that they can take you in lots of weird ways. And when you're out in the country, especially, lately it's been taking me down all these, single, narrow roads, right?
Yes.
And it took me down this one road, and I went down this road for probably about a good 20 minutes.
Yep.
And I got down to what I thought was within 2 miles of where I was going. To find that the road was closed.
Right.
So I had to turn around, but I couldn't turn around.
Well, it was such
a narrow road.
How far back?
So I had to reverse.
How far?
Probably about half a mile.
God, blimey. Yeah, that's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, because I didn't know, because some of it was backing around corners and things. I didn't know if someone was coming the other way.
No, that's right.
It was like some kind of torture.
I always back up in my car on the wing mirrors. I never look behind me. You see what I mean?
I don't look behind me either.
Or in the middle mirror. You just have to do it on the wing mirrors.
Yes.
And that's the only way you can make
sure
both
my car's got a very
sides
small back window as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So the side mirrors are really pretty much all you got.
Exactly. Now, listen, it's a great one here. It says... Hi, guys. Roy the Millwall fan should be a guest of honour at every football stadium next season. Chairman, take note. And another one here, and there's lots of these, by the way, saying that brilliant to listen to Roy Larner. Thank you for putting out his Just Giving page. Should this man not be recommended for a bravery medal? I think he already has been.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that the country will recognise him.
I think there is a couple of petitions already going on. Here's one from Danny who says, I'm off to Benidorm in September. There's about 35 of us going.
See, I couldn't do that. I'd hate to be in a group of 35 people. I just really would, honestly.
Yeah.
It would be horrendous.
A couple of people are saying that's possibly the best turmeric story they've ever heard.
Which one?
The one you told.
Well, I didn't tell one, did I?
What do you mean you didn't tell one? You told a turmeric story about the woman you were out for dinner with.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, but of course, the yellow rice. Yeah, turmeric in it.
How could you have
that's
forgotten
right.
that?
Well, no, that was...
Scott remembers it. He says, was it a blind date, Porky? Once he saw you and spent time with you, you can't blame him for getting smashed.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it, eh? That's very nice. Right, now then, I'll tell you what I've got a bit of a bugbear about, which I've been wanting to discuss with you for some time. Yeah. At the moment, Roland Garros is on, right?
Roland Garros? Who's he?
He's the bloke who invented the stadium in France where they play the French Open, OK?
Well, I presume he's an ex-tennis player, isn't he? Wouldn't that be why they named it the Roland Garros Stadium?
I think he's an ex-tennis official. You know, I think he's the guy who sort of got the French Tennis Association all sorted.
Oh, OK.
And have you ever been to Roland Garros?
I haven't, no.
No, I've been past it, but I've never been inside it, yeah.
What'd you go past it for?
Oh, well, you know, because I was going somewhere else and happened to be on this side of the road.
Well, obviously, but why would you go past it?
Well, because I was driving out of Paris somewhere and and we passed it, yeah. I mean, why? You know, that's a stupid question. Why would you go past Wembley Stadium?
Well, because you must have been...
Because you might be going to Harrow on the Hill, right?
Well, that would be the answer. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, I don't know where I was going.
But instead, you didn't tell me where you were going.
I think we were going to find Mick Jagger down the Loire Valley somewhere, I think. Yeah.
Well, that's a long way from Paris.
Well, I know, but you've got to start in Paris and go in that direction, haven't you? I was with...
depends where you start
from. I was with Mr Walker. Our friend Mr Walker,
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
And Reg, the driver, who nearly killed us because he stalked so much and kept turning round, telling us what he was going to do when we found Jagger.
Right.
He didn't notice that the traffic was stacked up in front of us because of an emergency light.
Dear.
He nearly killed us. He was skidding all over the road.
Right.
But anyway, Roland Garros.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I've got against it is that for years and years, people mounted this campaign in professional circles, professional tennis circles, and said, well, you have to get rid of the grass at Wimbledon because, you know, it's the only one that's on grass now and the others are all hardcore.
It's the only one of the Grand Slams.
Yeah, that's right. Or clay.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't get that. Grass is beautiful. You know, grass is a lovely surface.
It's hard. I mean, it is hard, and you know, it doesn't look so great after 2 weeks.
I'm about to say to you, it wears down, obviously, but they're getting better at that year in, year out with the manufactured grass. You know, it's sort of part synthetic and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's like what they do on football pitches now. They they sow it, don't they? With the synthetic stuff.
Exactly, and that will get better and better over the years. But you know, a green grass court at Wimbledon on day one, there's no finer sight in the world.
Yeah.
Now, what I would do is I would get rid of the clay at Roland Garros.
Right.
I have no idea how they can justify that as a sporting surface. It's filthy, it's orange, it's dusty.
Well, what's wrong with
they
orange?
Slide all over that. Well, it's a filthy colour, and they come off with their clothes all covered in orange dye.
No, they would say, I would imagine, the French who support the French Open, that it's their tradition in the same way that grass is the tradition of Wimbledon.
Well, yes, I agree, but grass has a purpose, and tennis was originally played on grass. When tennis was invented, a couple 300 years ago, it was played in the back gardens of our stately homes.
Was tennis invented before real tennis?
No, I think real tennis came first.
So that wasn't played on grass, was it? That was kind of an outdoor
game.
Well,
that was the precursor to squash, and that was played in the inner halls, you know, where they would put up boards across the windows and then bash the ball about. No, that's absolutely right. That's the favourite game, by the way, of Prince Edward.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Right,
I'm not sure whatever else Prince Edward does.
That's enough to put anybody off.
Exactly.
Yeah, the great news about this game is if you really reach the pinnacle of it, you get to play Prince Edward.
You get to play Prince Edward, that's right, yeah. Fine, upstanding member of the royal family.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I object to with it's such a filthy surface, and it makes everything filthy. The balls turn orange, the clothes on the players turn orange.
Why does that bother you?
Well, because it's unsightly, dirty, filthy playing arena, which I think should be scrapped. And,
well, I don't agree.
And put a hard court down if you want, and that will still make Wimbledon unique.
Well, I think what I don't like actually is the Australian Open where they have blue. Because I don't like that either.
Why?
The colour blue for me doesn't work for tennis.
I'm not so sure. I've been to Wimbledon, and I've been to Flushing Meadow.
Okay,
is it still Flushing Meadow, by the way?
They play at the Rod Laver. I don't think it's not Flushing anymore.
No,
is it?
no, it's not Rod Laver. That's in Australia.
Sorry, not Rod Laver.
It's the first black tennis champion at Wimbledon.
Arthur Ashe.
Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
The Arthur Ashe thing. But
I don't know if it's still Flushing. I'm not sure if they still play it.
Okay, I'm not sure either, I have to admit, but I think they got a new one. Don't know.
All right.
But anyway, also so I've been there. So I've been to the Australia. I've been to the.
Well, I'm very happy that you've been
to the Wimbledon and all that.
You still can't tell me who Roland Garros is, though, can you?
Well, nobody cares who Roland Garros is. I don't care who Roland Garros is. Do you?
Yes, I do.
Why is it such a part of your life?
Now I want to know who he is.
Yeah, well, you know,
I'd like somebody to tell me.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
Please tweet me.
And
at the two mics. Can you
I
stop talking again, please?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people agree with me on this one.
What about what?
About getting rid of the clay in Roland Garros and replacing it with something better.
Okay, this is Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
That music, of course, signals only one thing. For those who don't know, this is Porky Vision, and this is where Mike Parry slips easily into the role of TV reviewer.
That's right.
To tell you what's good on TV, what's bad on TV, and what's not worth watching at all.
That's right.
So, just before we do that, I should point out lots and lots of people have been tweeting in to say that Roland Garros was actually a World War I pilot. Who in 1913 became the first man to fly across the Mediterranean without stopping.
Across the Mediterranean?
So he was a pilot.
Oh, I've got one here
know that.
saying he was a Second World War resistance hero.
No, World War I.
Yeah, well, he could have been both, couldn't he?
I suppose.
You know, he could be...
No, he couldn't actually, no, because he apparently died in 1918.
1918, right. Did that plane crash halfway across the Mediterranean then?
Just 5 weeks before Armistice and the day before his 30th birthday.
Really?
So he was a prisoner of war in 1915 before managing to escape after a long period in captivity.
Yes, yes.
So it doesn't say how he died, actually.
No, OK. Well,
he's a very fine figure of a man. He looks very sort of French, as you might say.
Oh, yes, he did. And why did they name the tennis court after him? Did he play tennis?
Well, I think he might have been a bit of a tennis buff as well.
Yeah, that's right. He could have been like the gentry, landed gentry who played a bit of tennis in the back garden of the chateau.
Right. And a couple of people have also said if you were going past the Roland Garros Stadium, you may have been on the way to the place where they have the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, that's right.
Could that have been possible?
Could have been.
You could have been on your way to the races.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah, what's that called? That track? It's not Chantilly.
Chantilly. No, Chantilly is where England were camped out down for the
that's
for the
right,
Euros, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there's a racetrack there as well. Parc des Princes. No, that's the Parc des Princes.
Parc des Princes. I think it might be.
France. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Right.
No, you're the one that goes to all these places.
Yeah. Well, no, it is Parc des Princes, and the stadium in Paris is the Stade de France.
Stade de France.
Right. Now then. Now I haven't had time to watch a lot of stuff because we've been very busy. Okay, on telly.
We haven't been that busy.
But they have. But one programme.
We weren't working at all yesterday.
One. Yes, we were. Yes, I was.
We were on standby.
And I'm not sure what you were doing. I was.
Well, I was waiting for the rain to come in Cardiff. It never came.
When the rain came.
You don't have to start singing.
That's a Beatles song. Right.
We were assured, by the way, by some top management here, that it was going to rain.
That's right. And we were told
assured
it was going to rain at 1 o'clock.
No, well, in fact, for sure it was going to start at 12.
Yes.
And it was possibly going to go for 2 hours.
That's right, yeah.
I don't know what weather forecasting system they were using.
No, it's not a good one.
It was completely incorrect.
Yeah, it's quite right.
Yeah.
Now then, let me tell you. So, anyway, I thought, well, I better catch up on a few programmes.
Yeah.
So there's this programme, which, of course, I had an absolutely massive interest in, called Diana, 7 Days That Changed the World.
Okay.
Now, this is a programme which is relating the whole ghastly unfolding story of Diana's death. You know, what she was doing in the days before it, what her mood was, what her future life held, what plans she was making, was she really getting married and all this kind of stuff, to Dodie Fayed and the tragedy of his death as well and all that kind of stuff. And, the so-called experts were all contributing to this show.
Yeah.
Now, one of them was a very old friend of mine, Richard Kay.
Right.
Rich is I think he's the editor-at-large, isn't he, on the Daily Mail?
Yes, because he was the sort of diarist, wasn't he, for a long time?
He was diarist for a long time, and he stepped down from that, but he has always been known as a royal expert.
Yes.
And, in fact, can quite genuinely claim to have been a friend of Diana, Princess of Wales.
Very much so.
Once said that he was spotted outside her Kensington Palace apartment. In the car with Richard, with her head resting on his shoulder, because she obviously had some troubled years during her marriage with Prince Charles.
Yes.
Now, so he's on it quite a lot, and he did a brilliant job, okay? Also on it is Paul Burrell, who's a bloke who's got a flower shop just outside Chester.
Just outside Chester.
But he's just flogged that.
Has he not moved to America, Paul Burrell?
Well, he's got married. He's been in the same, civil partnership marriage type of thing, marriage to another gentleman.
Yeah.
And I think they're making a new life. And I think he sold his shop in Farnborough.
Has he? Yeah.
So he was on quite a lot.
Okay.
And then
he was her rock, of course.
He claimed to be the rock.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have disputed that over the years, you know.
Well, many of them have, and many of the things that he said about her and what the things she'd said to him were kind of not really checkable, were they?
He always...
Because there was only she and he in the room.
Well, that's right, yeah. And he always seems to be able to come up with just one amazing fact about Dinah that's left, you know?
Yes,
which he's going to tell us one day, and it never seems to be told. But anyway, the point of my story is, so I'm watching this with great interest, because, of course, I'm waiting for the moment.
Is this a one-off show, or is it a series?
It's a one-off show. It's a one-off show. I'm waiting for the moment when a narrator says the news of the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, was released at 4:23 a.m. on the said day, you know, by the Press Association, the UK's national news agency based in London.
They could have used a bit of, even if it wasn't actually true, to use the old teleprinter type, thing that used to stutter out in the corner,
right.
you know.
That's right. The thing used to show you the football results on a Saturday afternoon type
they
thing,
could have shown it like that, sort of stuttering, like the way that it ends on, All the President's Men, the movie.
That's right, yeah.
And the typewriter sort of, scoots across the page.
That's right, very good, yeah. And
they didn't do that.
Well, you see, I can't understand this, because the point is, I expected to be named in this show. What's your problem?
Why?
Because I am the man who put out the news of... No, you can't say no. It's an absolute truth and fact.
The point is, though...
I'm the man who put out the news that Diana, Princess of Wales... had died.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that if they were to do that and use that as a device in the documentary, they should have just said, and here was the Press Association release. Yeah. Who were the first people to break it? They wouldn't go, oh, and by the way, the man behind the Press Association announcement was Mike Parry.
Hang on,
why would they say that?
Why didn't they come in here? Right, and interview me at length.
Well, maybe Richard Kay told him it wasn't true.
But it was true about the dramatic events of that morning, how it all spilled out. I mean, I told you.
Did they use one of my front pages, by the way, which was one of the famous ones, which they've used in The Queen, the movie,
right?
Which is the Daily Express front page, Show Us You Care.
Right.
Which was my headline.
Yeah, they did, actually.
Did they?
Yeah, a lot of it was about the public rebellion against the Queen staying in Scotland, not coming back.
And the fact that the flag on Buckingham Palace was not at half-mast.
And for the first time, it was lowered to half-mast.
Yeah. It was eventually.
It was eventually, yeah.
After that headline.
Well, they showed quite a few headlines, but they all indicated exactly the same thing.
Show Us You
Where
Care
are you, ma'am?
was the best one.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, that was yours.
Yeah, it was mine. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So,
thank you.
All right, so you got a bit of a shout in it, but I, who had a much more substantial part in it.
No, but I wouldn't say. Yeah. Therefore, I'm going to ring up the producers and say, why did you not put my name on there?
No. But what I'm saying is, they should have come in here and interviewed. They should have said, Mike, could you tell us a full dramatic story of how you broke the news to the world?
Well, maybe they've heard it a million times on the radio.
No, they haven't.
You've told it about a million times.
No, they haven't. So, somebody's not doing their job when they're putting together a programme about Diana, Prince of Wales, and I'm not in it.
This wasn't our mate Ben over at Channel 5, was it?
Do you know, I think it was Channel 5.
Was it?
I think it was. It was either Channel 4 or Channel 5, I'm not sure. But
I'm surprised that he didn't get in touch with you, because we had such a successful meeting with him.
We did, yeah.
Just a few months ago.
We did, when he complained about toothache and asked me how much it would cost to replace his tooth.
After having made an appointment to see us, asked us, the first question he asked was, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? What have you come to see me about? Yeah, why are you here? Why are you in my office?
Yeah.
Because we were sitting in his office, if you remember, for about 15 minutes, while he was on the phone in the corner, looking incredibly stressed and worn out.
Right.
And then it was only when he put the phone down, he realised we were there.
Yeah.
Although he'd been staring at us for 15 minutes.
And he was incredibly indiscreet about quite a lot of high-profile names.
He was,
and how useless they were on television.
He was, yeah.
Luckily, we've never revealed any of that.
We've never revealed any of that.
But we may do.
So anyway, I mean, the true story is, of course, that I had a correspondent, Charlie Miller, who was the defence correspondent.
What's this got to do with the TV show, by the way?
Well, because they should have put me in it, and I wasn't in it. So it's a rubbish programme, right? Okay.
I must try and watch it on Watch Again or whatever it's called.
Now, you won't believe it, but the point is, this coincides with a couple of weeks ago, me getting a phone call from a chap who said, that's Mike, that's you. And I said, he was Irish. And
was
I
he?
said, yeah.
Really? I've never guessed.
I said, yeah. He said, my name is, whatever it was. And he claimed that he was putting together a documentary for Sky TV on the death of Diana, the Princess of Wales.
Okay.
And I said, right, okay. He says,
when was this?
About a month ago.
Oh, right.
About a month ago, yeah.
Right.
So I said, oh, right, okay. He said, and of course, you're the man who broke the news to the world, aren't you? And I said, yes, that's right, I am. So he could find out this guy who's making this alternative
This will be in preparation for the 20th anniversary,
I suppose, right? Indeed, later on this year.
It's
in, when was it, November or September?
No, it was August.
August, that's right.
August 31st.
Yeah. August 31st, that's
1997.
Yeah, that's right.
You should remember that date, because that was the date you broke the biggest story in the world.
I did.
But of course you can't remember the date, because maybe the rest of the story's not true either.
I've got it all in print and evidence and everything.
Really?
It's all there.
All right.
And so he said to me, can you help me with anything else? And What's your
Are
problem?
you sure this guy was from Sky?
Well, he claimed he was making the programme for Sky.
The time, by the way.
And anyway, don't worry. And
I'm
so
worried about the time.
So I actually put him onto Charlie Miller, right? And I think that Charlie Miller's going to be the star of this programme because, he actually rang me and told me because he got it from Robin Cook, the Foreign Secretary.
Because he was the guy that was out in the
out in the Far East. I think he's going to get all the glory, and I don't think I'm going to get a bean.
Yeah.
Even though it was me who took the brave decision to break it to the world 17 minutes, that's 17 minutes, before it was officially announced by Mr. Chevaulemont, who was the French Foreign Secretary, right?
Imagine if you'd got it wrong.
Yeah, that's right, the Élysée Paris. I don't know what I'm laughing about, because I wouldn't be here now if I got that wrong.
No.
And it was literally a career-breaking moment. If I hadn't had the guts to do it, I didn't even bother ringing the editor to tell him.
Yeah, all right.
Because you know what the editor would have said?
Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought, right, I'm not even going to tell you.
That would have been a responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Porky Vision.
Okay,
more
thank
same
you.
time next week.
Good.
British and Irish Lions were in action this morning with a clash against the Auckland Blues. Here to dissect the Lions' performances, Owen Slott, the chief rugby correspondent from The Times. Owen, a very good afternoon to you here in the UK, but a bit of a miserable night down there.
Yeah, it was a shame. It was one that the Lions could actually have won. The Blues are a good team, but they weren't outstanding. The Lions had chances, but they're a new team and they weren't clinical enough to finish them off.
Right.
It wasn't. It's not the end of the world. It wasn't a terrible defeat for the Lions, but and there were areas that went really well. But in attack, their cutting edge was lacking, and that's something that I would be concerned about for the future weeks.
Sure. And how was Warren Gatland's sort of demeanour afterwards? Because he was quite tetchy this week, wasn't he? Ahead of the game, where people were sort of being critical of his style and the whole Warren ball thing. I'm seeing Igor Monye after the game saying that it's not quite panic stations, but the Lions need to get this tour back on track. Is he? Does he look worried?
No, he was putting on the happy face today, or not that happy face, but resilient. I suppose is more the word. He was, as you know, we've seen 1,000,001 sports coaches do, picking out the positives, and I don't think that was kidology. You know, there's a lot to work on. This is a foundation stone, I think. But as you say, as Ugo said, if they are going to learn, they've got to learn pretty fast. They've got to improve pretty fast. This is what Warren Gatland was saying, that the issue here is they're learning in defeat. And as we all know, defeat can be depressing, demotivating. They wanted victories, to build and get better victory on victory, but they have to keep spirits up and keep motivation and confidence from dipping while they have defeats like this. And they've got this phenomenally hard game on Saturday, which you would say that they're likely to lose as well. So that would be 2 defeats from 3. That would be that wouldn't be what any doctor would have ordered.
Well, it certainly wouldn't, Owen, but I mean, when you look at the number of changes that were implemented today, surely that's the reason for these warm-up games, isn't it? He's got to try out every possible combination of what he's got and arrive with the best team in the best shape, best form, knowing what it's going to do when the real business starts.
Yeah, completely right. So he'll announce another completely different change, but completely different team rather, for the game on Saturday. So once again, it'll be a new unit sort of starting again. So only when you get into next week's games will you see teams playing for the second time or combinations playing together for the second time. And at that point, you should see these improvements being made. That said, the team that he fields on Saturday will be his strongest so far and the closest you would have thought to what is likely to be the test side.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
But looking at the team that was that was out for the first 2 games, and I know they were 2 very different teams. They look to me, and I don't mean to be the pessimist here, Owen, but they look to me like they'll be absolutely smashed by the All Blacks.
No, don't be the pessimist at all. But I'm not a million miles away from you. It is easy to look at this and be negative about it. Warren Gatland was keen to make the point, he said it about 2 or 3 times afterwards, that he doesn't believe that going from these Super Rugby franchise teams up to the All Blacks. He thinks the Super Rugby teams are so good at the step up where it isn't so astronomical that they won't be able to make it. So he thinks, make baby steps through the Super Rugby contest, and then you'll be able to make the bigger leap for the All Blacks. I think there is something in what she said, and you can look at today's game and you can see a few easy areas where they could improve. They made errors in discipline. They gave away too many penalties. They made simple execution errors themselves. So you can see areas where they'll improve. But I think the main concern is that in 2 games they've only scored 1 try through the back. To beat the All Blacks, you need to have a proper cutting edge. You need to have a team that can score tries, 3 or 4 a game you'll need to beat the All Blacks. I can't yet see where that's coming from.
Yeah, exactly right. Listen, Owen, thank you very much indeed. That's Owen Slott from The Times.
It is indeed.
Down there in Auckland.
It was indeed. Pick up your copy of The Times on the Sunday Times during the Lions tour for more quality analysis.
The British and Irish Lions Tour of New Zealand 2017 on Talk Sport. On location with The Times and the Sunday Times. Pick up your copy throughout the Lions Tour for insightful commentary and analysis.
Got a lot of tweets here about much of the stuff you've been coming out with. Tell Porky the Parc de France is a rugby stadium and Longchamp is the race course.
That's it, of course it is.
And Scott is also pointing that out. A lot of people calling you a plank for not knowing that.
Yes.
Turner says, so far Porky has taken credit for breaking the news of the Yorkshire Ripper and Princess Diana. Is he also going to claim Guy Fawkes?
No, not at all. That'd be ridiculous.
And about the Lawn Tennis Association, it says here from James, surely the Lawn Tennis Association would be a clue as to what surface tennis was originally played on.
Yeah.
Would it not?
Well, that's exactly what I said. And I don't know why it's now played on clay. And somebody said, I've seen a tweet here somewhere, somebody's got a course up in Sheffield or something where they actually play on blue clay. You said you didn't like the blue surface. I said I didn't like clay.
That's not right. No, have another look at the tweet. What it is he's saying that they've got clay on the red side of the picture, and they've also got a blue hard court.
Oh, I see. So they've got every court except lawn tennis.
Well, maybe they've got lawn as well.
They have. Listen, I tell you what, because of one of my journals, property journals,
well, start another story now. The show's over.
No, I know, but this is interesting.
30 seconds. Well, it's not interesting.
It is.
Save it till tomorrow.
Beautifully derelict home.
Yeah.
Only 2.5 million
Well,
quid.
let's talk about that tomorrow.
Indeed.
Is it your place?
No.
This is the 2 Bites on TalkSport, of course, with Wix. We'll be back tomorrow. Every day we give away a £100 Wix gift card to the best caller, and today's winner, we thought, Porky, was Leslie, the QPR fan.
She was a lovely caller. Thank you very much indeed.
Former grammar school girl, she said.
Yes, that's
who
right.
told us to give Pep Southgate's team bonding idea a chance.
That's right.
She said he can't be any worse than Roy Hodgson.
Well,
He can't really be any worse than Roy Hodgson, can he?
I'm sure he won't be.
Unbelievable. This says the 2 Mics. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the 2 Mics.